Chapter 593. You can search for Poisonous Wife on Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Number 11 on the Genius list, Lu Xian from the Holy Snow Sect. There was no change in the rankings until the top 10 on the Genius list appeared. Number 10 on the Genius list, Ni Sect, Jiang Run. A line of golden characters appeared at the bottom of the giant stone list halfway up the immortal Xingxian mountain. It stirred up 1,000 waves. Who was Jiang Run? What kind of sect was Ni Sect? Everyone was stunned. The first to reveal the top 10 on the Genius list turned out to be an unknown sect. There had never been such a sect since ancient times. Jiang Run? Could he be one of those two dark horses? Xian Yu from the Ziyan house is too young and may not be his match. When the elders of the Merciful Cloud House heard this, they all frowned. I don't think eldest senior sister will be defeated so easily. She is a disciple personally trained by the Grand Supreme Master, which is unique in our house. A disciple of the Ziyan house who came to watch the battle was unconvinced. Even if she can't defeat Jiang Run, she won't be kicked off the list. Eldest senior sister must have a magic treasure bestowed by the Grand Supreme Master. How can she die so easily? Before he finished speaking, the words of the 9th place on the Genius list began to appear. Number 9 on the Genius list, Xian Yu from the Ziyan house. The elder's brows instantly relaxed and he beamed with joy. The elder with the highest qualifications to lead the team sighed in his heart. The Grand Supreme Master made the right move. Something's not right. In the pavilion booked by the Wind Thunder Holy Sect and the Holy Snow Sect, Elder Zhang he looked uncertain. Third Brother Lu, the number of people on the Genius list is wrong. The third elder of the Holy Snow Sect, Lu Lin, did not correct Zhang He's way of addressing him this time. Instead, he nodded and said in a deep voice, the number has exceeded the limit. There are 8 places left on the Genius list, but the Peak Holy Sect has occupied 5. Then there are Zhao Qianyuan from the Han Sect, Fang Lan from the Divine North Holy Sect, Luo Hong from the Shura Holy Sect, Zhou Lin Feng from the Void Sword Sect, Ban Qian from our sect, and the 2 people that have been announced. There are a total of 12 people. A trace of worry appeared on Zhang He's face. The number had exceeded the limit. There was only one possibility. Among these 12 people, someone had fallen. Thinking of this conjecture, Zhang He's heart couldn't help but tighten. The next ranking would be announced soon. Ban Qian, with his strength, it was unlikely for him to obtain a high ranking. If, Zhang He did not dare to think any further. Number 8 on the prodigy ranking, Zhang He raised his head and stared at the rankings, holding his breath. Wind Thunder Saint Sect, Ban Qian. Whoosh, Zhang He let out a long sigh of relief, his face turning from white to red. Lu Lin smiled and patted his shoulder, congratulations, the Wind Lightning Saint Sect is still the Wind Lightning Saint Sect. Zhang He nodded with a complicated expression. Ban Qian did a good job. Something must have happened in the Battle of the Immortal Ascension Mountain. Ban Qian being able to get the 8th place was already a pleasant surprise. He remembered that during the selection of the Son of Saint, he had voted against Ban Qian. For a moment, his heart was filled with complicated feelings. Maybe I should be nicer to him in the future. It's rare to find a saint who's approachable. Zhang He's thinking changed, and the tense atmosphere in the pavilion was swept away. Lu Lin stroked his beard and chuckled, taking pleasure in others' misfortune. Next, no matter which sect the Son of Saint dies, it's not a trivial matter. If he dies, he dies. Zhang He also laughed and scolded in a low voice, a group of short-sighted people. If they follow the fate ancestor, they will die sooner or later. Lu Lin nodded in agreement. Since the Holy Snow Sect and the Wind Lightning Saint Sect could find it, the other holy sects naturally also noticed that something was wrong. For a moment, the atmosphere was much more tense than before. Which Son of Saint died? In the heated discussion on the street, the ranking of the Tianjiao list continued to appear. The 7th on the Tianjiao list, Zhou Lin Feng of the Void Sword Sect. The elder of the Void Sword sect breathed a sigh of relief, and the cold sweat on his forehead evaporated. He had stood against the opinions of the masses to let Zhou Linfeng take the position of the son of saint. If Zhou Linfeng really died, his position as an elder would come to an end. Fortunately, not only did Zhou Linfeng not die, but he also got the 7th place. Very good. The 6th on the Tianjiao list, Yin Shuatong of the Huangxing Hall. When this line of handwriting appeared, the crowd suddenly burst into more heated discussions than before. Even they knew that something was wrong. How is it possible that the Peak Holy Sect only got the 6th place? What's going on in this Tianjiao battle? Why do I feel that Su Jouzhou squeezed out a place, so the Peak Holy Sect fell out of the ranking? It's impossible. No matter how powerful Su Jouzhou is, can she be more powerful than the evil emperor? She has mastered the sword intent. Ha 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 ha, Zhang He laughed out loud. I know that the Peak Holy Sect is going to be unlucky. The ranking is a big problem. Lu Lin smiled without saying anything and continued to read. The 5th on the Tianjiao list, Chu Qingning of the Ankou Valley. The 4th on the Tianjiao list, Fang Mu of the Tianhe sect. The elders of the Ankou Valley and the Huangxing Hall almost frowned together. Why did they all fall out of the top 3? How can Mu maintain the top 4 with his temperament? The elder of the Tianhe sect widened his eyes in surprise. He originally thought that with the lad's mischievous temperament, it would be good if he could get into the top 10. Is it possible that Mu finally became sensible after Yuan disappeared? The elder of the Tianhe sect remembered that Fang Mu resisted the position of the Holy Sun in those years, and there were tears in his old eyes. He was greatly relieved. He picked up the tea on the table and looked at the Tianjiao list happily. Although it was a little inappropriate for the 2 people of the Xingtian Shrine to occupy the top 3, the words of the top 3 on the Tianjiao list began to appear. Puff! He didn't drink a mouthful of tea after all and sprayed it out. The elder of the Tianhe sect stared at the Tianjiao list blankly. His hands trembled violently, and he didn't know that all the tea was poured on his lapel. Now, something big is going to happen. The 3rd on the Tianjiao list, Yan Zai of the Ni sect. The 2nd on the Tianjiao list, Ling Qinglan of the Ni sect. The 1st on the Tianjiao list, Su Jouzhou of the Ni sect. Absolutely. The top 3 on the Tianjiao list appeared at the same time. The 3 familiar and strange names of the sects were like world-ending thunder in the night, blinding everyone's eyes. The whole Immortal Ascension city seemed to be stagnant suddenly. The hustle and bustle stopped abruptly, and there was a dead silence. The dead silence lasted for a long time. Someone laughed twice, which awakened all the people who were in a trance. My God! Senior brother, what's going on? Am I dreaming? Dreams are not so exaggerated. Junior fellow apprentice, pinch me. Ah, everyone was crazy. In the attic booked by the Xingtian Shrine, the elder slumped in his seat, and then suddenly sat up like a corpse. He sent out a carrier rune tremblingly. The Emperor of Evil and the Holy Girl are both missing. The Tianjiao list is changing. Come quickly. The actions of the other sects where all the Holy Sons and Holy Girls disappeared were surprisingly consistent with the actions of the elder of the Xingtian Shrine. Zhang He and Lu Lin stared at the Tianjiao list blankly, and their expressions were surprisingly consistent. After a long time, Zhang He came to his senses and smiled bitterly. Qingshui Circle is going to be lively. Lu Xian's eyes flickered. Let's go back to the Tianyayan, find Ban Qian and Lu Xian, and leave the Immortal Ascension city quickly. In the Tianyayan, Xia Wei burned a stick of incense. Before she finished praying, she saw Xiaoxi running in a panic. Tianya Master, something bad happened. The people of Xingtian Shrine are gone. Ni sect occupies the top 3. No, they occupy 4 of the top 10 places. The whole Immortal Ascension city is crazy. Clang, the incense burner was directly overturned from the offering table to the ground. Xia Wei felt a little dizzy and waved her sleeves to throw the burning incense far away. It was useless to pray to the gods. When Xia Wei arrived at the scene and saw the dazzling golden light in the top 3 places, her face was darker than the bottom of a pot. The situation was much more serious than what Xiaoxi said. Not only the 2 big troubles of Xingtian Shrine were gone, but what about Zhao Qianyuan of Han Sect? Fang Lan of Divine North Holy Sect? Luo Hong of Shura Holy Sect? 5 holy sons and holy virgins were gone at once. Xia Wei's face was pale. Xiaoxi, let's go back to the Tianya sect now. He had to withdraw before the arrival of these holy sections. Otherwise, those furious old men would skin him alive. Ah! There is still a lot of information in the Tianya sect. Don't bother to pack up. The important things are all on me. Let's go. After they were transmitted out, they were not at the bottom of Immortal Ascension Mountain, but in the spring courtyard of their inn. Lord Jojo, how did my sect become NI sect? Jiang Run scratched his head and asked. Su Li smiled slightly. Next, the holy sect's revenge must be crazy. Are you sure you want to use the name of Jiguang sect? Jiang Run's face changed instantly. It should be crazy outside, right? Yan Zai smiled brightly. Cool. After holding back for so many years, I can finally hold my head high. It's so cool. Ling Qinglan looked at his complacent look and shook his head. He was too unsteady. Qinglan, have you got in touch with them? Su Li's eyes flickered. Although her plan was foolproof, who could guarantee that there would be no accidents? Ling Qinglan rarely saw her tense face. He finally saw the human side of her. Surprisingly, he was a little happy and nodded. He said, some of them also sneaked into Immortal Ascension City and contacted me as soon as they got the news. They are more anxious than us. Su Li's eyes flickered. She walked to the door with her hands behind her back and looked at the still dark sky outside. Well, that's good. Next, according to the plan, all of you, leave immediately. Hua Shichen didn't know what the plan was. He was stunned and asked, shall we go too? Elder Hua can follow us. Yan Zai came over with a smile and patted him on the shoulder. Our master is an elder of your holy land. We are a family, aren't we? Hua Shichen smiled bitterly. Even the holy land was trapped by Su Jojo. He was just an elder of Jiguang's sect and couldn't change anything. That's great. I will tell my father when I go back. He must be very happy. Xianan was excited. In recent years, the Linli building had been hiding like a mouse, and he was very angry. Now he suddenly had a backer, and his sister was very good to him. It was simply a realization of his life dream. The shuttle is ready. Dongfang Wuxue came in from the outside and said with a strange face, I just passed the front door of the inn and wanted to say goodbye, but I didn't see Xia Wei and Xiaoxi. Chapter 594. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu to find the latest chapter. Ha 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 ha, Yan Zai laughed out loud. Did that guy run away? No wonder. Compared with staying here to face the questioning of the 5 holy sects, it's better to go back to his hometown to admit his mistake and think about it behind closed doors. The holy sects respond very quickly. Let's go. Li Hai, who had been silent, reminded everyone in a timely manner. If we go, what about Lady Jojo alone? Jiang Run couldn't help but ask. Su Li smiled and said gently, it's not me you should worry about. Follow me and leave. Jiang Run didn't understand, but he didn't speak again. After a while, the spring courtyard was empty, and only the spiritual stone lights dotted around Su Li. After a while of silence in the courtyard, an old figure in a black robe pushed open the door and walked to Su Li. His respectful look was more sincere than that of a year ago. Master, old servant Yi Che is here. Among all living beings, there were only a few people with good intentions. Even practitioners were not immune. Within an hour after the announcement of the Tianjiao list, the number of people in the Immortal Ascension City was reduced by 10%. The departure of this person did not attract much attention. Most of them were still immersed in the excitement of the announcement of the new list. By the time the 4 palaces covered the entire sky, it was already too late for them to leave. "That's the temporary imperial palace of Xingtian Shrine," someone exclaimed. "The people of Han's sect, Shinbei Holy Sect and Shura Holy Sect are all here. Such a big thing happened. They will definitely send someone to investigate, but I don't know who it is." No one dared to touch the taboo of the immortal Ascension City. The 4 temporary imperial palaces stopped outside the city and then were put away. There were 70 or 80 people in the open space. The 4 figures with extraordinary breaths were recognized at once. Walking on the far left was a skinny man in a green and gray robe. His eyes were cold and his face was like frost. He was surrounded by frost, like a devil in the ice. This person was the law enforcement elder of Han sect in Ghost region, known as Xie Huanzi. On the right of Xie Huanzi was the group from the Divine North Sacred Sect. The leader of the group was an ordinary-looking old man. His face was extremely unfamiliar, and no one knew who he was. It was a woman in a red dress shrouded in a blood-red light. Her face looked as if it had been meticulously carved. Her blood-red hair spread out behind her, and her lips were as red as blood. "It's the Azura Saint Sect's vice-sect leader, Lady Blood Poison." Lady Blood Poison's infamy was well known among male cultivators, and she was the nightmare of countless people. It was rumored that the number of male cultivators who had died on her bed and been sucked dry by her was enough to form a high-grade sect. There were even sacred sons of other sage sects among them. She was a female cultivator of the evil path through and through. "Oh, what day is it today? The Langjuns, who I usually don't see, are all out today. I'm really moved." Blood Poison walked to the man in black in front of the team of Xingtian Shrine. "Yuanguang, I haven't seen you for many years. I miss you so much." The black-haired man looked cold. His lips were not thick, and his black hair was loose. There seemed to be charm in his eyes, like an immortal or a demon. He dodged Lady Blood Poison's hand without a trace, completely ignoring her approach. His lips moved, and his voice spread throughout the immortal Ascension City. "Where are the elders of Xingtian Shrine?" "That's Ling Yuanguang of Xingtian Shrine." A knowledgeable cultivator's face changed, and he secretly exclaimed, "He is the holy son of the previous generation of Xingtian Shrine, and now he is the vice-ancestral master of Xingtian Shrine. He has a high position, and his strength has reached the stage of nature's test when he retired 2,000 years ago. I'm afraid his strength is even more unfathomable now. Xingtian Shrine actually sent him out. It seems that something really happened to Evil Emperor and the Holy Girl." There was no response for a long time. Ling Yuanguang frowned. The one who came to the immortal Ascension City this time was just an ordinary elder in charge of trivial affairs. It was impossible for him to have the courage to disobey him. The only possibility was that he also had an accident. Seeing this scene, Lady Blood Poison's smile faded slightly, and she also secretly transmitted her voice, "People of Xingtian Shrine, come to see me." What answered her was silence. Han Sec's Xie Hun stood up, sniffed, and frowned. He couldn't smell Zhao Qianyuan's breath. The elder of Divine North Sacred Sect has also disappeared. The elder of Divine North Sacred Sect said in a low voice, and the 4 of them frowned for a moment. "Why don't we go into the city first and ask the Horizon Master of Tianyakin?" Lady Blood Poison said, smiling as if she was out to play, as if she didn't care about Luo Hong's life or death. Ling Yuanguang didn't look at her, and without saying a word, he led his people into the city. Xie Hun also had an arrogant attitude, and left as he said. In the end, it was the elder of Divine North Sacred Sect who cupped his fists at Lady Blood Poison, and then followed. What a group of rude young people. Lady Blood Poison shook her head and chuckled. She floated up and followed closely behind with her people. The door of Tianyakin was still open. Ling Yuanguang stepped into the inn, but he didn't see anyone else. Instead, he saw a girl in a black dress, who looked to be in her early 20s. She sat behind the shopkeeper's counter, drinking slowly, and looked very uncomfortable. Ling Yuanguang stepped forward and asked coldly, "Junior, is the Horizon Master here?" The girl in the black dress stopped drinking and raised her head. The black lotus mark at the corner of her eyebrows looked extremely mysterious, and her bright eyes flickered with an inexplicable light. "You mean, Xie Wei? Shopkeeper Xie?" "That's right," Ling Yuanguang responded. He looked around, but found that the Tianyakin seemed to have been emptied, and no one was there. He seemed to suddenly think of something, and his expression changed. "You guessed it right. Shopkeeper Xia Wei ran away with Xiao Si. He probably ran back to the hometown of Tianyakin to reflect on his mistakes. Those who live here are also smart people, and they have long left," Su Li replied with a smile. She looked at Lady Blood Poison and the others who came in one after another. "You guys are really unlucky." "Unlucky?" Lady Blood Poison walked up to Ling Yuanguang and looked at the girl in the black dress up and down. She smiled coldly. "Little girl, do you know who you are talking to? There is no such thing as innocent people who don't know." "Of course I know." Su Li's eyes were hazy with drunkenness. She stretched out her hand and pointed at Lady Blood Poison, whose face became more and more unfriendly. You have a stinky smell of blood. You must be from the Shura sect." Su Li turned her hand and pointed at Xie Han. "You have a more stinky breath of cold poison than him. Are you from the unlucky ghost cold sect? I don't need to look to know that the other two are from the Xinbei holy sect and the Xingtian shrine." As Su Li spoke, everyone's eyes changed, and Su Li's eyes gradually became clear, even, with a little playfulness. "I say, except for the Xinbei holy sect, did the other three holy sects make a mistake?" Ling Yuanguang looked serious. He thought quickly and blurted out, "You are Su Jiuzhou." The smile on Su Li's face widened, and she suddenly stretched out her hands. As she turned them over, countless tactical matrix lights emerged around her, hiding her figure, and leaving her voice in her ears. "Yes, I am. You are really late." The surrounding fog gradually rose and shrouded the surroundings. Lady Blood Poison was shocked and immediately sneered, "Just a tactical matrix. Break it." She stretched out her hand and grabbed, as if grabbing a transparent net in the air. She pulled it hard, and immediately the sound of cloth tearing came out, and the tactical matrix was broken. Ling Yuanguang only used one sword move, and all the tactical matrix lights dimmed. It took Xie Han some effort, but he still broke the tactical matrix and reappeared in front of Su Li. His face was not very good. But the elder of the Xinbei holy sect still did not get out of the tactical matrix. Clap! 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 Su Li clapped her hands. "It seems that my cultivation realm of the 11th grade tactical matrix is a little low. Elder Yi, I heard that in your era, it was not the tactical matrix that flourished, but the restriction that was more complicated than the tactical matrix. I suddenly have some interest in it." "Who is he talking to?" Ling Yuanguang got out of the trap, and did not relax his vigilance at all. But in the next moment, he was horrified to find that he actually couldn't move. "Which, senior?" Lady Blood Poison could only move her eyes, and her beautiful face was pale. Before she finished speaking, a bloody palm appeared on her left cheek. "You should be beaten for your cheap mouth." Xie Han was the weakest among the four, and he was the most vulnerable. He was directly pressed to the ground by this pressure, and his bones made bursts of sound. As for the other junior disciples, they had already vomited blood and fainted in an instant. Yi Che, dressed in a black robe, appeared beside Su Li out of thin air with a smile. His absolute control crushed the whole audience. The boy hiding in the tactical matrix deliberately avoided it. "Do you want to sneak attack the master?" Boom, the tactical matrix was broken, and the elder of Xinbei holy sect appeared. Under the pressure of Yi Che, he could actually move. He saluted. "Tuji of Xinbei holy sect pays respect to the senior of Ghost Clan." "Immortal Tuji?" Ling Yuanguang was shocked. Wasn't one of the Grand Elders of Xinbei holy sect called Immortal Tuji? The Grand Elder appeared in person. No wonder Su Jojo said that the three sects, except for Shinbei Holy Sect, had already noticed it. Su Jojo, Ling Yuanguang looked dignified. At first, he was only wary of the person behind Su Li, but at this moment, his fear of Su Li skyrocketed. Yi Che stood beside Su Li calmly. Don't tell me your name. Even if you tell me, I won't know who you are. Besides, why do you only greet me, but ignore my master? Immortal Tu Ji's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Su Jojo cautiously. Master? This ghost clan was clearly an old monster. How could he recognize a little girl as his master? Even though he felt disdain in his heart, Tu Ji didn't reveal the slightest bit of displeasure on his face. Instead, he chuckled and cupped his fists. Su Jojo, your name has spread all over Qingshui Circle. It can be said that you became famous overnight and everyone in the world knows you. It was worthy of celebration. Divine North Sacred Sect, Tu Ji. Are you here for Fang Lan? Su Jojo looked calm and said in a teasing tone, I can tell you that the holy sons and holy girls of your sect are all guests of Ni sect. If you want your geniuses back, there is only one very simple condition. She put down the wine glass and sat up straight, her burning gaze sweeping over the four of them. Give up your cooperation with the Life Palace and overthrow the Fate Ancestor with me. How about that? Chapter 595. You can search for Poisonous Wife in Baidu. You can search for the latest chapter. Hearing this, the four people were all silent. Even though Ling Yuanguang's impression of Su Jojo had improved by several levels, he never expected that she would make such a ridiculous request. Little friend Su kidnapped the holy children of the holy sects just for this. Tu Ji's smile faded a little. The old man of Ghost Clan was indeed stronger than him, but he wanted to compete with the Fate Palace alone. After all, he was too naive for a young man. Why? Do you think my request is a joke? Su Li broke the silence, and her smile slowly faded. You won't think so soon. Although I can easily keep all of you here with Elder Ye's help, I am a very reasonable person. So, I will give you a chance to choose. Only once. Everyone, except Han Zong, the rest of you can leave now. Ling Yuanguang felt relaxed, and the space confinement disappeared. He took a deep look at Su Jojo, took away all the unconscious disciples, and left without saying anything. Immortal Tu Ji frowned, but chose not to refute. In front of Yi Che, he couldn't bring Fang Lan back, so it was meaningless to stay here. Poisonous Blood Lady slipped away faster, and left with the people of Shura Holy Sect in the blink of an eye. Su Jojo, why can they leave? What did Han Sect do to offend you? Xia Hunzi's face turned pale. He was the weakest among the four, and at this moment, Yi Che, the terrifying old man, was in front of him. How could he not panic? Other sects may have a chance to turn back, but Han's sect has long lost it. Su Li smiled slightly, and changed her face in her mind. Now, do you still recognize me? Seeing this face that was almost engraved in his soul, Xia Hunzi's face turned pale, and his body went limp. He trembled and said, You are the primordial ghost clan who killed Grand Elder Wangchen. Bang! As Su Li smiled and nodded, countless gray sword intents suddenly shrouded. The heaven and the earth changed and turned into a gray sword tomb. Countless sword shadows with the intent of destruction buried Xia Han in an instant. The remaining disciples of the Han sect who were in a coma just touched the breath of the sword intents and turned into ashes, without leaving a corpse. This is Sword Domain. Yi Che revealed an expression of surprise. This was a realm that could only be comprehended after one's sword intent had reached perfection. He had given away the comprehension of the sword Dao that he always carried with him, and the time was just barely enough. Elder Yi, how is my 1 year of hard work? Hearing this, Yi Che returned to his senses and smiled bitterly. Mister's talent, even in the past and present, is absolutely an existence that is as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. Your future is promising. Hearing such praise, Su Li's expression didn't change, but her eyes flashed and she asked, Elder Yi, what level of strength do you have now? How is it compared with immortals? The immortal realm is so far away. Yi Che shook his head. Even in this old man's era, there were very few people who became immortals. Immortals were existences that surpassed the heavenly Tao of a world. The heavens were jealous of them, so how difficult was it to become an immortal? My current strength has surpassed Mahayana peak stage, but I'm still far away from becoming an immortal. Even so, if I leave this immortal ascension city, the heavenly Tao will use my lifespan as an excuse to send down a terrifying world-exterminating lightning tribulation. Su Li nodded slightly, and her eyes wandered. So, if there is such a person who can break into the end of the spiritual awareness alone and come and go freely, and it is very likely that he is just a doppelganger, what is his strength? Yi Che's pupils shrank. The end of the spiritual awareness? It is said that only after stepping into the great emperor realm, that is, the Mahayana peak stage, can one take that step. In such a special place, the owner of the spiritual awareness is invincible, and even immortals may die there. Su Li's expression was slightly gloomy. The owner of the end of the spiritual awareness has died. What about the instinctive attack at the end of the spiritual awareness? There are many variables in it. Yi Che was obviously relieved. It depends on how long the fallen person has passed away. Nothing can resist the passage of time, unless he is an immortal. The power at the end of the spiritual awareness will decline with time, so I can't judge the strength of that person. But no matter what, he is at least at the Mahayana peak stage. After listening to Yi Che's analysis, Su Li nodded. I see. I will leave here soon. If the person I mentioned comes here, you don't have to confront him, just observe him secretly. Who is this person? Yi Che couldn't help asking. Su Li stared at Yi Che's eyes intently. Have you heard of Baimo? If she had guessed correctly, Yi Che's era should be the same as White Demon's. Baimo? Yi Che tried hard to recall, but he only felt strange. He had never heard of this name. Su Li looked at Yi Che's reaction, thoughtfully, and asked again, then, what about Ling Qingshui Circle, the Lord of Qingshui Circle? Who? Yi Che was at a loss. How much did he miss in this sleep? This circle was renamed from All Spirits Circle to Qingshui Circle. Did someone unify the world? Su Li stopped probing. Yi Che's reaction was very real. He knew nothing about it, so there was no need to waste time. During this time, Qingshui Circle will be very chaotic, or it may not be chaotic. In short, no one has time to care about the affairs of Immortal Ascension City. If you have nothing to do, you can gather a force to play and teach assassination skills with your ghost clan methods. It can be regarded as a peripheral organization. Yi Che hurriedly bowed his head. Yes, master. Su Li smiled. She knew that Yi Che had not completely surrendered, so she was not in a hurry. Yi Che couldn't leave Immortal Ascension City, so it was easy to control. 2 days later, Su Li and Yao Shichuan appeared at the foot of the mountain where the vegetation was declining. After the Tianjiao battle, the sect fell to the upper grade. The luck of the sect was plundered, and the nimbus in the mountain declined. When Yao Shichuan saw this scene, a sense of sadness appeared in his eyes, but he didn't dare to ask Su Li for help. The cultivation circle was extremely well informed. 2 days were enough for the things that happened in Immortal Ascension City to every corner of Qingshui Circle. The name of Su Jiuzhou also became the hottest word in Qingshui Circle overnight. There were also 18 versions of the story of Su Jiuzhou reaching the top of the list in just 2 days. None of them was true, but it was talked about enthusiastically. Even the mortal cities heard about it. What Yao Shichuan heard was not those false rumors, but what he heard in Immortal Ascension City. If Su Jiuzhou really caught the 4 holy children of the holy sects, then she and Ni's sect would become the target of public criticism. It would even alarm the people of Fate Palace to take action in person. At that time, how should Ni's sect deal with it? If they accepted Su Jiuzhou's kindness, would they also be regarded as enemies by the people of Fate Palace and be killed quickly? With all kinds of worries in his heart, Yao Shichuan sighed secretly, but he didn't dare to show any hesitation. He opened the big tactical matrix of the sect with Su Jiuzhou and stepped into it. Although Ghost Valley was originally a top-grade sect, the area it occupied was only 1/10 of that of ordinary sections. The pavilions and palaces looked a little shabby and not often repaired. The whole sect from the foot of the mountain revealed a shabby atmosphere everywhere. Su Li followed Yao Shichuan up the mountain and saw many trapezoid-shaped herbal fields and disciples who were taking care of the herbal fields. Seeing Yao Shichuan, those disciples all saluted respectfully and called him eldest senior fellow apprentice. Yao Shichuan responded while talking with Su Li, "In recent years, it has been very difficult for the valley to maintain the normal operation of the sect. We can't pay the daily offerings, and many of the sect's disciples have left. The ones who are still here are those who are truly loyal to the sect." Su Li heard the words and said with a faint smile, "The grade of the sect has fallen, and there are no cultivation resources. It's reasonable for those disciples to choose to leave. As for those who stay, although I'm not optimistic about their choice, their temperament is commendable." Yao Shichuan smiled awkwardly and didn't know how to respond for a moment. Fortunately, the main hall of the sect was in sight. He quickly changed the topic. "Valley Master has been waiting in the main hall for a long time." "Oh." Su Li looked at Yao Shichuan meaningfully, "You told your Valley Master about this. Didn't he refuse my coming?" "Fellow practitioner Su, you must be joking." Yao Shichuan stopped in front of the palace and smiled bitterly. "With the current situation of our sect, if we don't even dare to take this risk, I'm afraid that the sect will not be far from being destroyed." "You see it clearly." Su Li chuckled and stepped into the hall. A group of men and women in medicine robes came into her sight. It seemed that all the elders of the Ghost Valley were here. Sitting in the middle of all the people was an old man in a cyan robe with a kind face. There was a hint of worry between his eyebrows. Seeing Su Li coming, he quickly stood up and greeted her with a smile. He said politely, "It's really an honor for our sect to be here in person." "You're welcome, Valley Master." Su Li smiled faintly, "Neither humble nor pushy, since I'm here, I might as well get straight to the point. I can save the foundation of the medicine mountain of your sect, but, what can you offer me to make a move?" The Valley Master of the Ghost Valley looked slightly serious. He didn't expect Su Li to be so straightforward. "Oh, everyone can talk big. Our sect has planted a lot of rare and precious elixirs. Now that we have lost the top-grade luck, the elixirs are dispirited. Although you're the #1 talent, the luck is invisible. How can you control it?" The woman in the pink medicine dress beside the Valley Master of the Ghost Valley couldn't help but ask. Her eyebrows were slender and her lips were not thick. She seemed to be mean. Su Li just looked at the Valley Master of the Ghost Valley quietly and didn't care. The woman in the medicine dress suddenly became angry. She raised her eyebrows and stepped forward. She swung her sleeves and scolded, "You don't respect your elders. I'm asking you a question." Seeing this scene, the Valley Master of the Ghost Valley's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. "Noisy." Su Li turned her gaze and her eyes were slightly cold. The woman in the medicine dress suddenly seemed to be hit hard. She trembled violently and flew backward into the screen behind her. "Fellow practitioner Su, you're too much." The Valley Master of the Ghost Valley was shocked and embarrassed. He didn't expect that Su Li would be so presumptuous and bold. "Valley Master, testing will only wear down my patience." Su Li stopped smiling and said in a calm tone, "Who gave her the courage to be presumptuous in front of me? No matter how uninformed your sect is, you should know my strength, right?" Seeing that Su Li was so tough, the Valley Master of the Ghost Valley was shocked. He quickly said, "Fellow practitioner Su, please don't be angry. Elder Su also cares about the sect. I hope you can be magnanimous. I have never been magnanimous." Su Li interrupted the words of the Valley Master of the Ghost Valley and said expressionlessly, "The name of the Ghost Valley is destined to be with me. But now it seems that I don't want this fate." The Valley Master of the Ghost Valley finally felt that something was wrong. He was very regretful and said anxiously, "Fellow practitioner Su, you have come here. Do you want to leave like this and ignore the life of the Ghost Valley?" Su Li suddenly smiled. Then she said softly, "What does the life of your sect have to do with me?" Chapter 596. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. The master of the Ghost Valley looked pale. Su Jouzhou was too arrogant. He had been so humble. Why didn't she make peace? At this moment, he forgot who deliberately connived Elder Su to speak rudely to Su Li. There was no attitude of asking for help in her words. When he was lost in thought, Su Li had already stepped out of the palace, and her figure was about to disappear from his sight. Wait! The master of the Ghost Valley tried to persuade her to stay, but his face changed. Finally, he gritted his teeth and caught up with her. He said decisively, "As long as fellow practitioner Su is willing to help, I am willing to give you the Lost Holy Method, Ghost Valley Meditation Direction." Ghost Valley Meditation Direction. Su Li stopped and turned around. The master of the Ghost Valley breathed a sigh of relief and continued, "Yes, it is the holy method left by the ancestors. But now no one in the sect can practice it. Isn't it a waste of practice?" Su Li suddenly showed an expression of losing interest, and the head of the Ghost Valley was worried again. He hurriedly persuaded, "Fellow practitioner Su, wait a minute. We can't practice it, but it doesn't mean that you can't practice it. Fellow practitioner Su, you are the most talented one. Maybe the holy method is destined to be with you, and it will shine in your hands." It sounds reasonable. Su Li's face showed a trace of hesitation. She hesitated and said, "How about you take me to have a look?" "That's right." The master of the Ghost Valley was overjoyed. With the mentality of not giving up the child and being unable to trap the wolf, he no longer hesitated and immediately took Su Li away. Yao Shichuan, who witnessed the whole process at the gate of the palace, was slightly stunned. He understood that if the sect wanted to revitalize, it must cost a lot. But he did not expect that the master would be so generous. Moreover, Su Jouzhou is not a superficial person who likes to show her feelings on her face. Yao Shichuan's heart thumped. Did the master fall into the trap? The more he thought about it, the more he felt something was wrong. He immediately chased after them, but Su Li and Su Li were so fast that they had already disappeared. After Su Li left from the back door of the Ghost Valley with the Lord of the Ghost Valley, they went deep into the mountain. The deeper they went, the more luxuriant the barren jungle was. Panaceas could be seen almost everywhere. Although they were not old, it could be seen that the foundation of the Ghost Valley was not so shallow. The Lord of the Ghost Valley was modest. "This herb forest is the last foundation of my Ghost Valley. The foundation of this mountain was personally arranged by the ancestral master, relying on the nurturing of the heavens and the earth. The gathering of qi is not affected by the sect, in order to prevent the decline of the sect from causing all the spirit herbs to wither." Su Li listened quietly without saying a word. If it was said that he couldn't see anything familiar in the Ghost Valley sect, then after arriving here, it was, seeing that Su Li was not interested in talking, the head of the Ghost Valley sighed and continued to lead the way. The leaves in the forest became denser and denser, and the sunlight was blocked out. The light became dim as if it was dark all of a sudden, but it didn't affect Su Li's sight. She saw many priceless elixirs, some of which were even used by her. They were at least 10,000 years old. Hee, Su Li chuckled and withdrew her gaze. "You brought me here. Aren't you afraid that I will be greedy and conspire against you?" The head of the Ghost Valley laughed. "I believe that fellow practitioner Su is not such a short-sighted person." Su Li's eyes turned faintly. "That may not be the case." Hearing this, the head of the Ghost Valley still smiled and made a gesture. "Let's go this way." After the two of them passed through a dense forest, a two-story bamboo building that couldn't be more familiar suddenly came into view. A clear stream flowed beside the bamboo house, like a scene from a painting. Su Li was slightly startled, but soon returned to normal, with light flashing in her eyes. Who could it be? Thinking of this, the head of the Ghost Valley had already approached the bamboo building and opened the door of the first floor. This is the residence of the little grandmaster of the sect, and all the important things of the sect are also kept here. As he said, he came to the bookshelf, carefully took down an ancient book wrapped in a dark blue cover, and handed it to Suli. Suli took it and opened it. When she saw the familiar words on it, she smiled and asked casually, "Why don't I see the little grandmaster of your sect?" Her careless attitude made the head of the Ghost Valley angry, but he didn't show it. He just replied dryly, "The little grandmaster of your sect doesn't show it in front of others at will. Please forgive me, fellow practitioner Su." Snap! Suli closed the book and stared at the stunned head of the Ghost Valley. She said faintly, "You are not the real head of the Ghost Valley, are you?" The head of the Ghost Valley was shocked, but he smiled bitterly. "Fellow practitioner Su, what are you talking about?" Suli threw the book to the head of the Ghost Valley. She wandered in the bamboo house for a moment and went out again. The head of the Ghost Valley quickly followed her and asked, "Fellow practitioner Su, what are you doing?" "About the foundation of the herb mountain, please, swish." Before he finished speaking, Suli's figure disappeared in front of him. The head of the Ghost Valley was stunned for a moment. When he looked at Suli again, she had already opened the door of the second floor of the bamboo building. His face suddenly changed. "Fellow practitioner Su, don't." Squeak, accompanied by a painful sound, Suli saw a spotless bedroom. The air in the room was not stuffy. Someone often ventilated the room, and there was even a hint of sandalwood. The bamboo bed, wooden table, and even the utensils on the table were exactly the same as the bamboo building in her yard in the valley outside the Desa town. Who was it? "Fellow practitioner Su, you must not go in again." The head of the Ghost Valley stumbled over. "This place is arranged by the little grandmaster personally. No one is allowed to come in. Even I have seen the scene inside for the first time." Su. Alas! Before the head of the Ghost Valley finished his words, he saw Suli approaching the room. His heart sank to the bottom, and he sighed deeply with a bitter face. His original idea was to use the deterrence of the little grandmaster and the Ghost Valley meditation direction to make Su Jojo change her mind. He didn't expect that it was self-defeating. Now, he didn't know how long it would take to calm the anger of the little grandmaster, let alone to save the sect. "It's still the calming sandalwood I used in the past. I have to make it by myself, and it can't be bought outside." Suli calmed down and walked into the room. She already had a general outline in her mind about who the owner of this room was. "What's that?" Suli suddenly noticed that the wall where the incense burner was placed seemed to be a little strange. She walked over and touched the wall gently. The bamboo wall suddenly rippled, revealing what was hidden behind the ripples. It was just a memorial tablet, but the name on it, the head of the Ghost Valley came over curiously. When he saw what was written on it, he was instantly stunned. "To comfort the soul of junior sister apprentice Suli in heaven, Tantayu." Sure enough, it was you. Suli raised the corner of her mouth and suddenly retreated several feet. When the head of the Ghost Valley was confused, an invisible wave directly hit his face without warning, and directly hit him from the bamboo window and fell into the forest. His aggrieved cry was dragged along with his flying body. "Little Grandmaster." At the door, a young man in simple linen clothes appeared like a shadow. He stared at Suli coldly. "Who are you? Why do you break into my bamboo house?" "Your bamboo house?" Suli looked at his face, which was thinner than before, and chuckled. "How can you prove that this bamboo house is yours?" The thin young man's face was slightly cold. When he walked into the house and saw the broken camouflage tablet, his pupils suddenly shrank, and his figure instantly disappeared. Suli looked indifferent and retreated again. The violent vibration swept through the nothingness, but after all, it didn't hit anything and slowly dissipated. "Did you see it?" The thin young man stood in front of the memorial tablet and looked at Suli coldly, with a trace of killing intent bursting out of his eyes. Since he saw it, he would never let her leave alive, otherwise. Seeing his reaction, Suli suddenly laughed very happily. "Senior fellow apprentice Tantai, what on earth makes you so cautious? The thin young man was suddenly stunned and stared at Suli. Although it was not the face in his memory, the expression when she spoke. He couldn't help trembling, and his voice was suppressed and hoarse. What did you call me? Suli gently stepped closer, and the thin young man subconsciously stepped back. What was he afraid of? Suddenly, he saw something in the hands of the woman in front of him. Wasn't that a memorial tablet? He widened his eyes and looked at the woman in front of him with a smile. All the memorial tablets in his hands turned into powder. At the same time, the strange face suddenly twisted. When the face became clear again, it was the face that was engraved in his soul. It couldn't be more familiar. Junior sister apprentice is still alive. Senior fellow apprentice, what are you doing? Suli smiled lightly, and the black lotus at the corner of her eyebrows seemed to bloom quietly with her smile. Tantayu's breath stopped for a moment, and his eyes instantly blurred. The cold moonlight illuminated the bamboo house and the cups on the stone table in front of the bamboo house. The head of the Ghost Valley poured wine for Suli and Tantayu with a big bump on his head, and then stood behind with a grievance. Ha ha ha, don't be fooled by Nangong's old face. In fact, he is only more than 1,000 years old. He was picked up and raised by Master. Later, he had an accident when taking care of the elixir. His lifespan was almost sucked up by the elixir. Fortunately, Master appeared in time and saved his life. Tantayu said with a smile. Looking at the young and familiar face in front of him, he was happier than now. More than 1,000 years have passed. Junior sister apprentice, you are still alive. Suli glanced at Nangong and didn't explain her experience. She just asked, where is Master? Tantayu's smile was slightly stiff, and he said, Master is out, senior fellow apprentice. Suli stared at Tantayu's face with her deep eyes. You are the worst liar. Tantayu smiled bitterly and waved his hand to knock Nangong out. He said, Master has been missing for hundreds of years. When we were besieged by the Fate Palace, I relied on the treasure left by Elder Tianqing to avoid the calculation of the Fate Palace. But after I used the treasure, I was separated from Master. After so many years, I am afraid. Is that so? Suli lowered her eyes. It doesn't matter. Whether Master is still alive or not, I will find out. As long as I am still alive, the Fate Palace will be crushed under my feet sooner or later. Chapter 597. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. After Tantayu appeared, everything seemed to be reasonable. From the moment he promised Suli to incorporate the Ghost Valley into the Ni sect, the whole mountain base was renewed overnight. All disciples felt this change when they meditated in the morning. What's the matter? The speed of my cultivation is unreasonable. My cultivation speed is faster. Hey, when did the nimbus of our mountain become so thick? Go and see the medicine field. What's wrong? Someone gasped for breath and shouted. Everyone's complexion slightly changed. They put down what they were doing and rushed over. When everyone arrived at the medicine field, they were shocked to see the lush greenery of the mountain. The medicine mountain came back to life. Is it because of the female practitioner who came yesterday? It's amazing. I knew that the Ghost Valley would not decline all the time. The disciples were jubilant, and the elders were also happy, except Elder Su, who spoke rudely to Suli at that time. Senior fellow apprentice Nangong, does Senior Su really not care about what happened yesterday? Elder Su asked nervously. Nangong waved his hand and said, I've already asked Senior. Senior Su. Because Junior Grand-Uncle stood up for you, this matter has been settled. However, you have to change your temperament in the future. Not every senior is as easy to talk to as Senior Su. If it was someone with a bad temper, I'm afraid you would have been beheaded and killed on the spot. Elder Su was happy. When she heard this, her face turned pale and she nodded repeatedly. Outside the bamboo building. Tantayu looked reluctant. Are you leaving so soon? Suli smiled. senior fellow apprentice, you should know what my current situation is. If I am too idle, it seems that I am sorry to the enemy. You always like to bear all the responsibilities alone. Tan Taiyu shook his head and smiled bitterly. Let me see you off. Thank you, senior fellow apprentice. Su Li chuckled and flew into the air. Tan Taiyu immediately tiptoed and quickly followed her. Seeing the excited disciples, Tan Taiyu was surprised. Is the luck of the top one on the Tianjiao list really so powerful? This is the rule of this circle. Su Li explained with a smile. After Zai and others went back, they sent the news that all the disciples and elders in our sect had at least skyrocketed to a large level for no reason and their strength had been greatly improved. What happened here is just a small matter. No wonder Xingtian Shrine can be at the top of all holy sections. Tan Taiyu was full of emotions. Suddenly, he thought of something and stopped talking. Su Li smiled slightly. Senior fellow apprentice, it's not time to solve some doubts. Tan Taiyu was stunned and immediately said with a smile, okay, I won't ask. Su Li nodded and looked a little serious. The Ghost Valley quietly merged into the Ni sect. Although no one knows it, we must guard against the deduction ability of the Fate Palace. Tan Taiyu looked serious. Indeed, Fate Ancestors means are superb. However, I still have a magic treasure left behind by Grandmaster Heaven Star. Although it cracked after being used last time, it wasn't destroyed. Oh. Su Li raised her eyebrows. May I have a look? Of course. Tan Taiyu handed an ordinary white round jade pendant to Su Li. Su Li fixed her eyes on it, and shock flashed through her eyes. This jade pendant turned out to be a inhibition. If she didn't happen to be practicing the inhibition method given by Yi Che, she couldn't see it at all. This was not a jade pendant, but a manifestation of the inhibition condensed to the limit. It turned invisible into tangible. This realm was very similar to the extreme peak of the inhibition that Yi Che said. Who is Grandmaster Heaven Star? Su Li suddenly raised her head, and her eyes were unprecedentedly serious. It was the first time for Tan Taiyu to see his junior sister apprentice like this. He was also nervous and said in a deep voice, he is the old ancestor of the Tianqing Valley, but I don't know where the Tianqing Valley is. I know. Su Li narrowed her eyes. It seemed that after the situation stabilized, she had to visit Xiaoya. After that, Su Li used the inhibition jade pendant to draw a big tactical matrix for the Ghost Valley, including the entire Herb Mountain. This tactical matrix could not be used for protection, but to cover the mysteries of heaven. It took 2 more days to set up the tactical matrix. After finishing it, Su Li left without stopping. It was time for the drama of the Zhouzhou region to start. Su Li's eyes brightened for a moment, and her speed skyrocketed, leaving a long rainbow in the sky. 1 day later, the pavilions in the Ni sect were decorated with lanterns and streamers everywhere. There was no tension at all. In the hall of the sect, Hua Yan looked solemn and frowned. She paced left and right. Not long after, Ling Qinglan came in from the outside. Hua Yan looked at him and asked, hasn't the Grand Elder come back yet? Ling Qinglan shook his head and said in a calm tone, he must be delayed by something, but it doesn't matter. The people over there have already come. Even if Xingtian Shrine brings people here now, we are not afraid. Of course, we are not afraid. Hua Yan's eyes were calm, and her voice was firm. The Grand Elder has long expected that after the Tianjia battle, the holy sects will not be able to bear the humiliation, and they will gather many holy sects to denounce us. But how can our Ni sect fall at this step? Not only that, Hua Yan smiled, even in the Tianjia battle, Ni sect is at most a comet in people's eyes. It will not be long before it is destroyed by the Fate Palace. Only when the denunciation is over and the news spreads all over the world, the status of Ni sect will inevitably rise, and we will have the real capital to compete with the Fate Ancestor. Momentum is indispensable. Yen Zai came from the outside with a smile. This sentence is what Master said. Don't worry, Master will definitely come back. When that time comes, everyone will be shocked. As he said, he glanced at Ling Qinglan without a trace, and his smile was more brilliant. Zai, you are back. Hua Yan was surprised. Didn't you go to Jiguang sect? Haven't we already invited him? Yan Zai smiled. Xian Jingzhou's family and Wen Tingshan have been arranged to stay in the guest hall. When they saw me, they followed me without saying a word. It was easy. Hua Yan nodded gently. The rest depends on how far Wuxue can do it. After the Tianjiao battle, the news that Ni sect offended the Fate Palace and many holy sects spread to every corner of Qingshui Circle through the channels of Tainik Attic. Shengtian Shrine was still negotiating with various holy sects about the division of Zhouzhou region after the Ni sect was destroyed. Hearing the news, the lord of Shengtian Palace, who was sitting in the center, frowned for a moment, but soon relaxed. The rumor spread so fast, there must be someone behind it. Tu Ji of the Divine North Holy Sect frowned and said in a low voice, after all, it is a scandal to destroy a sect and occupy a territory. Ha, senior fellow apprentice Tu, you are wrong. The white-browed elder sitting in the seat of Shura Holy Sect shook his head. It is Ni's sect who offended us first. It is a big sin to destroy the future of our sect. Even if we destroy Ni sect, I have a reason. Yes. The middle-aged man in a gray robe sitting in the seat of Han sect nodded and said in a gloomy voice, they dared to kill 2 of our holy sons. I will burn the bones of the Ni sect to ashes, but it will not relieve the hatred in my heart. Other people sitting in the seat heard the words and got up to comfort him, but no one knew what they were thinking. How many holy sects came? The lord of Shengtian Palace raised his head slightly, revealing the majestic lower half of his face in the shadow. Immediately, a servant beside him answered in a low voice. In addition to Holy Sect of Wind and Thunder, Holy Snow Sect, and neutral sects led by Tianhe Sect, all the others are here. There are 50 sects in total. 50. The white-browed elder of Shura Holy Sect frowned. Why are there 3 less? For a long time, there had been 53 holy sects following the Life Palace, and the number had never decreased. Hearing the words, the servant immediately explained, after the Yin tribe was removed, because of the changes in the talent battle, Shenglan sect failed to enter the list, which led to a drop in grade. And I heard that the Splendor Hall, which was supposed to be supported, didn't return to the sect, including the elders. Who replaced them? The middle-aged man in a gray robe of Han sect asked gloomily. The servant's forehead was sweating, and he glanced at the lord of Shengtian Palace. After getting the approval, he whispered, it's Jiguang sect. Xian Jingzhou has always been very hostile to the Holy Palace. I am afraid, hearing this, many lords of holy sects frowned. It's not a big deal. The lord of Shengtian Palace stood up. Since the outside world is full of rumors, we don't have to talk anymore. Destroy Ni sect first, and then Jiguang sect. Include Jiuli region in the division. What do you think? 2 big regions. Many lords of holy sects' eyes brightened, and they all nodded. A trace of coldness flashed in the eyes of the lord of Shengtian Palace. This time, Ankou Valley and Huangxing Hall were ambiguous and didn't want to take action. Besides, Su Zhouzhou caught people of Shengtian Shrine, but let the other 3 sects go. Was there anything fishy? At this moment, in the Yinyang region, Dongfang Wushue's efforts made the news spread all over Qingshui Circle. Although the Yinyang region was blocked from information, there were still sources of news. In addition, Jiang Run had returned, and the whole story was soon restored. In the study, Fang Yuan frowned and sat aside silently. Su Qingtan was shocked. Su Qingshui's original name is Su Zhouzhou. Is she the lord of Ni sect? The people of Ni sect are also the former subordinates of the Linli building. Yan Zai and Ling Qinglan are both there. Together with Su Zhouzhou, they occupy the top 3 of the talent list. Run, is what you said true? Jiang Run glanced at Master Ling Mo, who was standing by leaning on the sword. He nodded seriously and said firmly, it's true. Something big happened. Su Qingtan stared at the intelligence that had just been sent to him on the table. For the first time, His calm look wavered. 52 sects united with Xingtian Shrine. Even if the newly famous Ni sect occupied Jiuzhou region, it would probably be doomed. Should he help them? Or not? Even if he decided to help, was it too late now? Ling Imo, what do you think? Hearing Su Qingtan calling him, Ling Imo opened his eyes and turned to look at Fang Yuan. You have been in contact with Su Jiuzhou for the longest time. What do you think of her shocking move? Fang Yuan shook his head. After a long silence, he said 3 words. I can't see through her. Ling Mo's eyes suddenly changed, but soon returned to normal. He pretended to be normal and said, stay still for a while. I need to think about it. Fang Yuan's eyes flickered when he saw Ling Imo suddenly leave. Where was he going at this time? Chapter 598. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. You can search for the latest chapter. Let him go, Fang Yuan. Su Qingtan saw that Fang Yuan wanted to chase out and sighed. Now every decision he makes is related to the survival of the entire Linli building. We can't take risks. Fang Yuan's face was slightly gloomy. He was about to step out, but he stopped. There were many barren rocks outside Ju City. 99% of them were more or less affected by the yin energy or the scorching sun. Ling Imo walked up to a mountain shaped like a woman's side face. When he reached the top of the mountain, he saw a thin figure wrapped in a black robe. You really came back. Ling Imo looked relaxed as if he had a backbone. He stepped forward quickly. When he saw the pale face, he was shocked. Are you hurt? It's okay. Ling Li put on the mask again, but it was not the Yang Jade mask, but a black mask with the mark of the Linli building. His thin red lips opened slightly under the mask. I haven't come back for a long time. Have you solved the trouble in the blood circle? Ling Imo nodded and explained, you were in Xingtian Shrine. I knew it was inconvenient for you, so I didn't take the initiative to tell you. About a year ago, a woman named Su Qingshui came to Ju City. She solved the problem in the blood circle. Later, we knew that her name was fake. Her real name was Su Jiuzhou. Su Jiuzhou. Ling Li's eyes under the mask suddenly changed. Which Su Jiuzhou? Yes, you also participated in the Tianjiao contest. You should have heard of her. It is said that you were taken away by Su Jiuzhou. The rumor is really absurd. Ling Mo's stiff face showed a smile. It's Su Jiuzhou. The Ni sect she belongs to is now the target of public criticism. But thanks to her, the Jiguang sect was promoted to a holy sect, and we also received a lot of benefits. You came back at the right time. Now Xingtian Shrine united many holy sects to destroy the Ni sect. What should we do? Ling Li fell into deep silence. He was a little confused. According to his original plan, the Linli building would constantly strengthen itself, steal the luck by relying on the Tianjiao list, and develop secretly. One day, it would be fearless of anyone. It would take a long time. At that time, even without him, the Linli building could survive and even destroy the Fate Palace one day. But someone had actually reached this step in such a short period of 1,000 years? Where did Su Jiuzhou get her confidence? Ling Li couldn't figure it out. Even if her strength was very good, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 feet. What's more, there was Fate Ancestor with unfathomable strength eyeing covetously. Why did she win? Taking a deep breath, Ling Li suppressed his messy thoughts and asked, how is Wang recently? He had been paying attention to his son's whereabouts. Even if Ling Imo didn't tell him, when he and Fang Yuan moved around the Yinyang region, he noticed it. However, for some reason, the aura of the dark jade mask had actually disappeared. After he entered the city, he actually did not sense it. Bu Wang is in the city. Fang Yuan urges him to practice every day. He is much more well-behaved than when he was in Xingtian Shrine. Ling Imo said and paused, if he knows that this is you, don't tell him. Ling Li raised his hand to stop Ling Mo from continuing. If you say it, it will only make him have resistance, and he may even do stupid things again. As for Ni sect. Ling Li's eyes were slightly gloomy. He said, I will go to investigate in person. You stay put. But you're injured, Ling Mo said half a sentence and didn't continue. For so many years, every time he saw Ling Li, he had never seen Ling Li intact. After thinking for a while, Ling Mo said again, what's our attitude towards Su Jojo? She sneaked into the Jew city before. Maybe she had other intentions. But she helped solve the bloody circle and saved Buwang several times. Otherwise, Buwang would be in danger every time. How could she benefit from the misfortune and improve her cultivation so much like now? The more Ling Li listened, the more he frowned. What did you say? Su Jojo saved Buwang. Yes. Ling Mo immediately told him that Su Jojo gave him the bloodstone inheritance. But he hesitated for a moment. He still said, before Su Jojo left, she didn't forget to give her the dark jade mask. Ling Li was shocked. No wonder Su Jojo could find him in advance and even easily lock his position at the end of the divine awareness. He actually gave such a precious treasure to an outsider. Seeing Ling Li's faint sadness in his eyes, Ling Mo also felt uncomfortable. He couldn't help but persuade, after the incident in the bloody circle, Buwang has known part of the truth. Now he really regards you as an enemy. In fact, you don't have to bear everything by yourself. Buwang has grown up. There was silence as an answer. After a long time, Ling Li waved his hand, you go back, prepare the people, and wait for my news. Ling Mo sighed and went down the mountain. Whoosh! When Ling Mo's figure disappeared in the gate of the Jew city, the wind swept over, and the black figure sitting on the top of the mountain also disappeared instantly. Soon after, Fang Yuan walked out of the rubble on the other side of the mountain top. He quietly looked at the empty space where the figure had disappeared, and his eyes were full of complexity. Even though he had some speculation in his heart, when he really knew the true side of Ling Li, he was happy for Su Buwang, but he couldn't be happy at all. If you are really inhuman, at least I can be closer to her. A long sigh disappeared in the wind with Fang Yuan's disappearance. In the headquarters of the Linli building in the Jew city, Su Buwang finished practicing as usual. He returned to his room and studied the bloodstone in his hand. Suddenly, he yawned and his eyelids began to fight. Strange, why am I a little sleepy? In a daze, Su Buwang lay on the bed and fell asleep on his stomach. Just after he fell asleep, a shadow flashed beside the bed, and there was one more person. It was Ling Li who sneaked in. Looking at his son's sleeping face, Ling Li's stiff and cold lines rarely softened, and then he gently put his hand on Su Buwang's lower abdomen. Buzz! A weak countershock directly shook Ling Li's hand away. Protecting the owner on her own? Is this the holy method? Ling Li's narrow eyes flashed with astonishment, and he looked thoughtful. Is Su Jojo really so kind that she even gives the holy method to others? However, according to Ling Mo's description, if it weren't for Su Jojo, Su Buwang would have been lost in the bloody world and become a puppet that only knew how to kill. He sighed in his heart. Although he didn't want to admit it, at the end of the divine awareness, although Su Jojo's attitude was extremely bad, and her purpose was not him, but the existence in the 100,000 ice graves, she did let him get rid of the control of the Lihan tablet and finally could live like a human. Thinking of this, Ling Li looked down at his palm, and he could vaguely see the golden blood flowing in it. It was warm, and it was repairing the serious injuries he had accumulated over the years every moment. According to this speed, it would take less than half a year for the serious injuries in his body to be healed, and he might be able to break through the shackles. Su Jojo, Su Li's strange face was reflected in Ling Li's mind again, and he frowned. What I did was exactly what I wanted to do, but what reason do you have? Are you her successor? With a soft sigh, Ling Li's figure disappeared like a phantom. Su Buwang woke up, rubbed his eyes, and said to himself strangely, strange, why did I fall asleep? And I even dreamed of that person. He felt a chill and quickly shook his head. Then he returned to the table to study the bloodstone and smiled treacherously. Hey, Uncle Fang and others still want to hide it from me. Sister Qingshui's name is Su Jiuzhou, which is the same surname as my mother, and she is in Jiuzhou region. Who would stay in this remote place? I'm going to seek refuge with the fairy sister. Ha ha ha. The next day, the maid who was responsible for cleaning Su Buwang's house ran in panic. Oh no. Young lord ran away from home. He even left a note. What? Fang Yuan's face changed slightly, and he quickly took the note. It was really Su Buwang's crooked handwriting. Uncle Fang, don't worry. I'm going to seek refuge with the fairy sister in Jiuzhou region. I have a teleport rune in my hand, and I left overnight last night. When you see this note, I should be at the gate of Ni sect. Fang Yuan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot when he saw the note, and he went out without saying anything. After that, Ling Mo, Su Qingtan and others came one after another, and they were speechless when they saw the note. Now Jiuzhou region is in chaos, and it's right for Fang Yuan to catch up with them. It's inconvenient for us to act at will. I have sent out spies to pay attention to the situation of Jiuzhou region at any time, and we just stay put for the time being. After Ling Mo finished, Yuni joked, you really have the imposing manner of Mrs. strategizing in those days. Really? Ling Mo turned his head guiltily, but he couldn't hide his worry in his eyes. Fang Yuan chased Su Buwang to Jiuzhou region, and Ling Li also went there. If they met, he didn't dare to think about it. At this moment, Su Buwang stood in front of the gate of Ni sect, looked around, and looked at the dense figures like a vegetable market, and looked confused. Why, so many people? Little brother, are you also here to watch the fun? Suddenly, a young child in luxurious clothes grabbed his hand and asked with a wink. What fun? Su Buwang was even more confused. Of course, I'm here to see Ni sect suffer. As he said, the young child laughed again. I heard that the Lord and the Grand Elder of Ni sect are both women. Those holy sects joined forces to bully 2 women. What a big scene. What did you say? Su Buwang's eyes widened. When he was about to continue to ask, he saw that the young child's face suddenly changed dramatically, and he looked up at the sky blankly. Hey, why is the sky suddenly dark? Su Buwang followed his gaze and looked up. At a glance, he saw the mark of the force that he was familiar with since childhood. Xingtian Shrine. At this time, the young child's words sounded like a nightmare. Hey, Xingtian Shrine joined forces with 50 holy sects to attack Ni sect. Don't you think it's a big scene? Su Buwang's face suddenly turned pale, and his body froze on the spot. He suddenly thought of something and came to his senses. He looked up and tried to find the tall figure among the people in front of Xingtian Shrine, but he didn't see it. At this moment, in the aggressive army of holy sects, an old man of Han sect jumped out and shouted angrily, Ni sect Su Jiuzhou, come out and die. Chapter 599. You can search for Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. As soon as the old man finished his words, Hua Yan's figure walked out of the hall, and the mountain-protecting tactical matrix began to appear. Hua Yan's eyes swept over the strong people standing in the air. There was no panic on her face, and her voice spread around, I'm Hua Yan, the lord of Ni sect. My sect is a small sect. Why do so many lords of holy sects come here? As she spoke, her figure slowly rose into the air, and stood at the same height as the opposite side. Although her cultivation was only at Huashan realm, her momentum was not inferior. The lord of Xingtian Palace frowned immediately under the mask. In the face of overwhelming power, where did she get the confidence? Hey, so many people come to bully our Ni sect. How shameless they are. Yan Zai rose to the air and stood beside Hua Yan, full of sarcasm. You expect Xingtian Shrine to be shameless? Yan Zai, are you kidding? On the other side of Hua Yan's figure flashed, and Ling Qinglan's tall and slender figure appeared. Their cultivation had been affected by the talents battle in just a few days, and they had made progress again, reaching the late stage of nature's test. Ha ha ha, Qing Lan is right. Dongfang Wuxue floated and stood behind Yan Zai. In just a little more than 10 years, his cultivation miraculously recovered to the early stage of Huashan realm with the support of Su Li's secret medicine. Then Lvu, Li Hai and others appeared one by one, standing behind Hua Yan. Their momentum was not inferior to the opposite side, but their strength was too shabby compared with more than 50 junior emperors of Xingtian Shrine. Ni sect only has these stinky fish and shrimps. The Grand Elder of Han sect, who spoke just now, sneered, "It seems that we are making a fuss. We don't need other helpers to destroy your Ni sect. Our Han sect is enough." Ha ha ha. Grand Elder of Han sect, should I say that you are naive or stupid? Yan Zai's eyes glanced at the familiar High Elder of Void Sword sect behind the Master of Xingtian Shrine, and his face was full of sarcasm. Among the 50 holy sects, the most unlucky one is your Han sect. Now, you even stood up to take the lead. Do you really think that your sect will not be destroyed? Han Zhong's great elder's sore spot was suddenly poked, and his face instantly became gloomy. Junior is too arrogant, damn it. With that, he turned to look in the direction of the Void Sword sect. Master Void, if I make a move, you won't stop me, right? The old man called Master Void had a cold expression. He has lost his mind and is no longer a disciple of my sect. Even if you didn't do anything, I would have dealt with him myself. What a righteous way to clean up the sect. Yan Zai's face was full of smiles as he stared at Master Shiyuan's face. Back then, if you weren't afraid that your precious son would die in the reincarnation mirror, you wouldn't have let sect master threaten me. If not for the fact that yours truly was extremely lucky, I might have become one of those 100,000 geniuses as well. Now, an old thing like you is standing here boasting shamelessly. Your face is so big that it's scary. Impudent. Master Void's eyes were like lightning. Now that things have come to this, you're still slandering me. What are your intentions? The rebirth state is a great opportunity, and the sect had high hopes for you by letting you go. Now that you have returned with success, not only did you not feel grateful, you even betrayed the sect and repaid kindness with enmity. You disregard the rules of the sect. Today, I will kill you. Yan Zai rolled his eyes and smiled sarcastically. An old thing is really an old thing. I can't beat you in an argument. The sect is such a dirty place, but you said it was like a paradise. People who don't know you will really think how selfless you are. There is no right or wrong in cultivation. It's just that we have different standpoints. The majestic voice of the Lord of Xingtian Shrine spread around. I will give you another chance to mend your ways and disband Ni sect on your own. Then, you may be given a lighter sentence. If you insist on standing on the side of a dead man, don't blame me for bullying you and sending you to hell. Lord of Xingtian Shrine, as you said, we have different standpoints. Hua Yan smiled slightly. Don't say any more unnecessary words. Our Ni sect doesn't have people who flinch at the last moment. Very well. The Lord of Xingtian Shrine waved his hand, and the momentum of 50 junior emperors behind him crushed over, activating the big tactical matrix for protecting the sect, which was illuminated with colorful lights. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Su Buwang looked at the two sides of the nothingness, clenched his fists, and looked anxious. He only heard Uncle Fang and others talking about Su Jojo in Ni sect in Jojo region, but he didn't hear that Ni sect had fallen into such a desperate situation. In the face of the overwhelming number of holy sects, he was like a nonentity and couldn't help at all. Fairy sister, it's over. It's over. The well-dressed child curled his lips and muttered, the Lord of Xingtian Shrine is really careful. To deal with such a small sect, he even invited all the grand elders of holy sections. Even a lion uses all its strength to catch a rabbit. After so many years, this old thing is so annoying. When Su Buwang heard this, he finally realized that something was wrong. He looked at the well-dressed child carefully and stared at his oily face. Do you have a way to save Ni sect? The well-dressed child was startled. He quickly waved his hand and said strangely, I don't. Don't talk nonsense. With the insignificant strength of Ni sect, it's useless. They can only wait for death and can't be saved. Little brother, do you still want to enter Ni sect to die? Su Buwang's eyes were full of worry. He didn't know what to do with the well-dressed child, nor was he interested in continuing to listen. He nervously searched for Su Jojo. Yes, I only heard that the fairy sister is a member of Ni sect. Maybe she has no sense of existence in Ni sect. Maybe, she is no longer in Ni sect at this moment. As soon as this thought came to his mind, he suddenly heard the questioning words of the Grand Elder of Shura Holy Sect above his head, where is Su Jojo? She captured the holy boy of our sect. Has she abandoned the sect and fled at this moment? Lord Hua, the holy girl of your sect has made such a big trouble, but you are the scapegoat at this moment. It's not a good feeling, is it? As soon as the voice of Shura Holy Sect fell, Yen Zai laughed loudly. Who told you that master is the holy girl of the sect? You old thing, listen carefully. Our master is the Grand Elder of Ni sect. The real master of Ni sect. As soon as these words came out, although many Grand Elders of holy sects didn't change their expressions, they were inevitably shocked. Su Jojo was a talent who participated in the battle. Her bone age must be no more than 2000. How could she be the Grand Elder of a sect like them? The Lord of a region? For a moment, all the practitioners who were watching on the ground were dumbfounded, and Su Buwang's face was even stiffer. On the contrary, the well-dressed child watched the Grand Elders of holy sects being slapped in the face with great interest, without any surprise. Ridiculous. The Grand Elder of Holy Sect stood up and said angrily, how dare a junior to be in the same generation as us? Do you really think that you can be on an equal footing with us after winning a talent battle? That's not true. As soon as these words came out, a chuckle suddenly sounded in the nothingness. Then a black gauze figure rapidly enlarged in the sky, and appeared in front of Hua Yan in a flash. Facing the overwhelming enemies, the black lotus at the corner of her eyebrows quietly bloomed with a smile. Forgive me for being straightforward. With your little strength, I don't want to be on an equal footing with you. Even if many Grand Elders had good self-control skills, they couldn't help but change their expressions at this moment. Even the breathing of the Lord of Xingtian Shrine slowed down, and his expression was not as natural as before. Su Jojo. That's Su Jojo. She is such a beautiful female practitioner. Grand Elder of Holy Sect, why is she so stupid to be enemies with holy sects? What a pity, the practitioners on the ground whispered. Su Buwang stared at the familiar back in the sky. For some reason, when they met again, his feeling for her was completely different from before. If it was just based on his gratitude for being saved by Su Jojo before, at this moment, there was a trace of other meaning, a trace that even he himself couldn't explain. It made his heartbeat accelerate, and he instinctively wanted to approach her. What's wrong with me? Su Buwang touched the tears at the corner of his eyes, and his mind was in a mess. This kind of feeling was too foreign to him. The last time he had this feeling was for the descendant of the Ghost Clan, and at that time, it was just a little mood fluctuation, far less intense than this time. Arrogant. The Grand Elder of Han Sect stared at Su Jojo with a gloomy gaze. You still don't know that you are about to die. Just accept your death. Su Jojo. The tone of the Lord of Xingtian Shrine was calm, but the oppressive feeling made the practitioners on the ground faintly pale and breathless. If you still have the slightest bit of concern for your sect, why don't you surrender and hand over the many holy sons and holy daughters that you've captured? I'll consider letting your sect go and leaving your corpse intact. He. Before the Lord of Xingtian Shrine finished his words, Su Li covered her mouth and laughed. Lord of Xingtian Shrine. If I'm really at my wit's end, I might really consider your request. But now, it's hard to say who will emerge victorious. The Lord of Xingtian Shrine's eyes darkened. He had already received a hint from the Fate Ancestor that Su Jojo had a trump card. Otherwise, why would he make such a fuss and bring so much combat power? But judging from Su Jojo's reaction, it seemed that it was still not enough. How could it be possible? Where else could she get help? Grand Elder Su, you are right. It's still unknown who will win. In the nothingness, a red light flashed faintly. When the Lord of Xingtian Shrine heard this voice, his pupils shrank instantly. It's you, Qi Tian. A little fear flashed in his eyes. It turns out that you are the one behind the scenes. It seems that the memory of being beaten by the Fate Ancestor last time is not deep enough. You are just a group of abandoned children of Qimo's circle suppressed by the natural law. No. Before the Lord of Xingtian Shrine finished his words, he suddenly thought of something and stared at Su Li, who was laughing wantonly. I am behind the scenes. The man who suddenly appeared was tall and dressed in red, embroidered with black clouds. His long hair fluttered, revealing a resolute face, and his smile was full of ridicule. Then you are wrong. Su Jojo and I are in a cooperative relationship. If it weren't for Su Jojo, how could our Qimo circle have such a perfect opportunity to enter the main realm? This time, I am not suppressed by the natural law at all. Fate Ancestor, do you think he dares to appear in front of me? Chapter 600. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Qi Tian stood at the same level as Su Li and looked directly at the Lord of Xingtian Shrine with a playful look. Compared with hypocritical people like you, it is easier to cooperate with fellow practitioner Su. I believe that with fellow practitioner Su's ability, it won't take too many years to destroy you. After that, he waved his hand, and countless vortexes appeared behind him in an instant. In the vortexes, hundreds of pneumas of Junior Emperor were transmitted, and even the nothingness was faintly distorted by this pneuma. Boom! The sky was covered with dark clouds and thunder. Su Li's eyes narrowed slightly, and she threw the identity jade token of Tianjiao tournament into the nothingness. The thunder tumbled for a moment, and then it retreated. The sky was clear. The top of Tianjiao tournament, the special pardon. She knew this secret from the end of her divine awareness a long time ago. Because of this, from then on, she had the idea of cooperating with Qimo's circle, and put it into action. Su Jojo. The face of the Lord of Xingtian Shrine was gloomy, and he called out this name very seriously. This was the first time that he took seriously this unimportant person in his heart. After the bloody accident of Holy Spirit, there was indeed nothing worth paying attention to in Jojo region. He just ignored it for a moment, and it actually let a demon rise to the point that he had to treat her with caution, even as an equal. You are very good. The eyes of the Lord of Xingtian Shrine flashed, and he looked at the pair of hands in the vortex. The intention to retreat rose in his heart, and it was difficult to let it go. With such willpower, such number, and Qi Tian, they had no chance of winning. Where did Su Jojo know that the top of Tianjiao tournament could be pardoned? Even Ling Li didn't know this, and he and Fate Ancestor couldn't tell others kindly. Seemingly aware of the change of the Lord of Xingtian Shrine, Su Li smiled lightly and said, "You flatter me, Lord of Xingtian Shrine. If you insist on fighting, we will accompany you. Perhaps this jade token can only support the practitioners of Qimo's circle to fight once, or many times. But one thing I can be sure of is that if the war starts today, you," Su Li narrowed her eyes, and a cold light flashed in her eyes, "no one can escape." Finally, the grand elders of the various sacred sects changed their expressions. They had experienced the power of the half-emperor Qi-Mo realm hundreds of years ago. It was extremely difficult to deal with one of them. Now, they were asked to fight 2 or even 3 at once. Wasn't that the same as courting death? The Lord of Xingtian Shrine clenched his hands in his sleeves, and his face was completely dark. Qi Tian stared at him. His gaze seemed to penetrate the robe covering his face and landed on his extremely ugly face. Qi Tian smiled happily. Just like that, the atmosphere was completely frozen. As time ticked by, the two sides remained motionless like statues. The cultivators on the ground widened their eyes to see how the master of Xingtian Shrine would make a decision. Su Buwang stared at the lord of Xingtian Temple, who fell into silence. The sweat on his forehead dripped from his nose, but he didn't notice it. For some reason, at this moment, he was even more nervous than when he was in danger with Uncle Fang. After a long time, the master of Xingtian Shrine raised his head and looked directly at Su Li under the robe. He took a deep breath. Su Jojo, I admit that I underestimated you. This time, you are more skillful, and I admit defeat. But the Chi Mo realm belongs to an alien clan after all. I hope you take care. After that, he turned and left without saying a word. His steps were still steady. How cheeky you are. Before you leave, you still don't forget to sow discord. Old fox, bah. The well-dressed child spat. Under Su Buwang's astonished gaze, he turned and disappeared into the crowd. The Numa of the master of Xingtian Shrine disappeared in the sky. Su Li looked at him calmly. But no one knew that at this moment, her heart was completely at ease. She was not sure whether the news of the Chi Mo realm could reach the ears of Xingtian Shrine. But if the master of Xingtian Shrine heard a little news about her, he would be more prepared. Today's matter couldn't be solved by a group of practitioners of the Chi Mo realm. Maybe, she needed the help of 100,000 ghosts of the Ling family. Ghosts were not tolerated by heaven and earth. If they appeared on a large scale, they couldn't be solved by an amnesty jade token. Fortunately, the situation didn't develop in that direction. Even so, Su Li still didn't take it lightly. In the face of Fate Ancestor, she couldn't be too cautious. Perhaps, Fate Ancestor guessed something, but he didn't tell Xingtian Shrine. This time, he didn't show up. Does it mean that he is still distracted by other things? Am I still not a trouble in his eyes? Thinking of this, Su Li put away her messy thoughts and turned to look at Qi Tian. She said with a smile, Senior Qi Tian, thank you for your help this time. If you didn't fulfill your promise, our Ni sect would have been destroyed at this moment. Qi Tian laughed and waved his hand to hide the whirlpool around him. He looked at Su Li with surprise and admiration. Although they had many contacts before, this was the first time for the leaders of both sides to meet. It's rare for me to come to the main circle to get some fresh air. I should thank you. Anyway, my doppelganger can still be maintained for a while. It's better to go to your sect to talk in detail. Although Qi Tian was close to 20,000 years old and his cultivation realm was unfathomable, his character was very straightforward. In the face of Su Li, who was less than a fraction of his age, his attitude was very humble. Su Li nodded, of course. Senior Qi Tian, please. Ha ha ha. The farce ended in Qi Tian's laughter, and the practitioners who came to watch the scene on the ground also left with satisfaction. Although they didn't see the world-shaking battle and Ni sect was not destroyed, the big scenes and big figures they saw today were enough for them to brag about. In the blink of an eye, there were only a few people left in front of the gate of Ni sect, and they were all casual practitioners who wanted to join Ni sect. Fellow practitioner, your vision is as good as mine. As the saying goes, fortune comes from danger. After this battle, Ni sect will inevitably be famous in Qingshui Circle. We have to join Ni sect in advance. Otherwise, when there are more people in the future, it will be difficult to join Ni sect. Su Buwang was hooked by someone's shoulder and entered the gate of Ni sect. Ling Li, who was hiding in the dark and was about to leave, saw this scene. His face was dark and gloomy. Ling Mo, didn't he say that Buwang stayed well in Ju City? How could he appear here? And he joined Su Jojo's sect. What kind of drug did Su Jojo put in Buwang? Ling Li wanted to rush out and have a look, but the pneuma of Qi Tian in the sky had not subsided. If he appeared, it was hard to tell whether he could survive or not. There were too many practitioners of Qimo Circle who died in his hands in those years. After hesitating for a long time, Ling Li finally sighed and left. Ni sect was not in danger for the time being. Later, he would find a way to let Ling Mo bring Su Buwang back. At this moment, the main hall of Ni sect was full of banquets and laughter. Ha 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 ha, if the master of Xingtian Shrine didn't wear that robe, he would have lost his face long ago. During the banquet, Yan Zai laughed heartily. With his little brain, he dares to fight with our master. He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Yan Zai talked nonsense and belittled the master of Xingtian Shrine. He was like the second Su Buwang, which made Ling Qinglan turn his eyes away and couldn't bear to see it anymore. Qi Tian watched with relish. The more he looked at Yan Zai, the more he liked him. The old fox of Xingtian Shrine deserved to be scolded. He liked him so much. Half a day later, the banquet was over, and only Su Li and Qi Tian were left in the hall. Little friendly, do you know why I am determined to cooperate with you? In fact, you also know that in addition to this risky move, I have many other ways to choose. Su Li smiled faintly. She was not surprised that her identity was seen through by Qi Tian. All spirits' tactics might be useful for a junior emperor, but for a person who was likely to be a great emperor. Obviously, she had not practiced it well. Senior Qi Tian, you can tell me clearly. Call me Qi Tian. Qi Tian's eyes were sincere. You and I are the same kind of people. We bear unimaginable burdens, but we can still go on and go well. As long as you are given time, your achievements will not be less than mine. Qi Tian sighed when he said this. I am also ashamed. Hundreds of years ago, I had the idea to cooperate with the scums of the holy sections. I have also heard about the reincarnation mirror. What that group of people did in order to break through the realm was disgusting. But for the people of Chi Mo Circle, I had to make a choice. But I was still too naive. Su Li listened quietly without saying a word. Qi Tian leaned his head against the back of the chair and looked at the sky. I listened to Bai Ming and carved the tactical matrix seal in Dafu region according to his method, but I didn't expect that it was a trap. Qi Tian showed his white teeth, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Bai Ming is definitely not a person of this era. He is even likely to be an old monster who has lived for a long time, but changed his body. I didn't quite understand the secret method he used, but I was almost possessed by him. Fortunately, the soul protection magic treasure in my body had a spirit and self-detonated to wake me up. I fled in panic, but I also lost my brother who had been fighting with me for thousands of years. Qi Tian's eyes were slightly red. From that moment on, I decided that I would never cooperate with anyone in Qingshui Circle. But I didn't expect that. You appeared. Qi Tian's state of mind was very strong, and he recovered quickly. When Ling Qinglan contacted me, I actually noticed it. It was not Su Jojo, but the real holy girl Su who was talking about cooperation with me, right? Su Li nodded with a smile. Brother Qi Tian, how did you notice it? It's simple. Qi Tian recalled, you could negotiate with my brother in Chi Mo Circle calmly and said that the whole Qingshui Circle was the enemy. Besides, you had the reincarnation mirror on your waist. I can't think of anyone else except the holy girl Su Li of the bloody accident of Holy Spirit. It turned out that I had been exposed at that time. Su Li thought of all the things that happened with Su Mu and Su Yang in Chi Mo Circle, and nodded gently. Brother Qi Tian, you seem to be rough, but you are very careful. At this moment, Qi Tian's body had become a little transparent, but there was light in his eyes. It was a kind of light called hope. I just paid attention to you at that time, and I didn't think you were very old. Who could have thought that in just a dozen years, you became a junior emperor from a small Jindan realm? If you choose to cooperate with me, I can do everything. But, you will bear not only revenge, but also the safety of all living beings in Chi Mo Circle. Do you dare to take it? Of course. I'm duty-bound. Chapter 601. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. It's too late to say it. The Grand Elder of Jojo region of Ni sect is peerless. With a wave of her hand, the wind blew, and the entrance to the alien world was opened. In the tea house, the storyteller in Jianghu grabbed a piece of wood and made witty remarks. The audience was full of low-ranked casual practitioners and mortals. Every wonderful part was full of cheers, and the tea house owner's face was full of smiles. After the holy sects retreated, the name of Ni sect and Su Jojo immediately became famous all over the world. If the Tianjiao battle just let the practitioners in the world see a rising star who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, perhaps she would fall like a comet soon. This time, after dozens of holy sects joined hands to destroy the sect, the name of Su Jojo could no longer be described by the name of the first place on the Tianjiao list. She was the Grand Elder of Saint Ni sect recognized by the practitioners of Qingshui Circle and the Lord of Jojo region. She was a giant on an equal footing with all the Grand Elders of holy sects and the Lord of a region. The glory of the first place on the Tianjiao list was no longer so dazzling for her, but more like icing on the cake. Ni sect occupied 4 of the top 10 places on the Tianjiao list and called itself Saint Ni sect. The popularity of Jojo region skyrocketed. This was the birthplace of the legend of Ni sect. The story about Ni sect and the Grand Elder of Ni sect was the most attractive. The newly opened tea houses blossomed all over Jojo region overnight. Although the situation was not clear enough, Ni sect was the first one that could scare off the joint forces of more than 50 holy sects in tens of thousands of years. So, there was no lack of casual practitioners who came to Ni sect to seek refuge. Of course, there were inevitably spies of other holy sects among them. But for Hua Yan, who had stepped into Huashan realm by practicing Hua Taoism, it was as easy as taking things out of her pocket. However, she didn't reveal the identity of those spies. She just followed Su Li's order and pretended not to know and let them into the sect. She also put a 100-eyed ghost in each of their shadows. In the past, who could have thought that the most mysterious Jojo region would be completely unified by a woman? In the tea house, there were many practitioners who were quite familiar with the general trend of the world. Only they understood how incredible it was that the Ni sect scared away many holy sects after unifying the Jojo region. During this time, Su Li didn't go anywhere. She just practiced in seclusion in the sect. She had gained a lot from the Heaven's Favorites tournament. Whether it was the Buddhist essence that had cleared her soul gap or the rewards she had obtained from every trial in the Immortal Ascension Mountain, they were all extremely valuable treasures in the outside world. If she used them well, Yan Zai and the others would be able to improve their strength to the next level. Yan Zai and Ling Qinglan's strength has just been promoted to the late stage of nature's test because of the Tianjiao battle luck. They need some time to consolidate their strength. It is not difficult for them to go through nature's test to reach the Deshang realm. The difficult part is to perceive the field. A junior emperor without the field is useless, Su Li thought, and put the organized treasures into the universe ring one by one, leaving only a tattered jade slip. Su Li narrowed her eyes slightly. She was the biggest gain of this trip. Secrets of Lin clan's cultivation, Lin Chen. Although she didn't know who Lin Chen was, the deep understanding and detailed analysis of the Sueyu tactics in this jade slip were simply outrageous. Su Li only skimmed it once, but she was deeply attracted by the detailed words in it. Her understanding of the Sueyu tactics improved rapidly. She obviously didn't see any explanation about breaking through the third hurdle of the Sueyu tactics, but she naturally knew what to do. It turns out that everything about the Sueyu tactics comes down to the jade qi. Lin Chen explained every change of the body in such detail. Could it be that she has practiced to the highest level? Or, is she the creator of this mental method? Su Li's eyes flickered, and she stopped thinking. It was useless to think too much. She still had a lot of things to do. But breaking through the third hurdle of the Sueyu tactics might be related to that matter. She stopped the water carving beside her. I just glanced at the secret, and it took me half a month, Su Li sighed in her heart. She waved her sleeves to open the door of the cave and flew into the hall. But at the moment when she stepped into the hall, she suddenly stopped. Deputy Lord Li, listen to me. I really know Sister Fairy, Li Hai looked at Su Buwang coldly. In the past few days, I have driven away thousands of casual practitioners who have said the same words as you. For the sake of your good cultivation, it is a great gift to arrange you as an inner disciple. You even want to see Grand Elder. Li Hai's indifferent face suddenly froze, and then he stared at Su Buwang, who had a bitter smile on his face, and subconsciously lowered his voice. Are you really an old friend of Grand Elder? Haven't I always said that I and Sister Fairy have known each other for a long time? Su Buwang said that his heart was very tired. Why did some people not believe the truth these days? Ahem, Li Hai coughed twice awkwardly and waved his hand. Grand Elder asked you to go to the top of Mount Huanwang. Go. Really? My sister is out of practice. Su Buwang was immediately surprised and happy, and rushed out of the hall without saying a word. Seeing Su Buwang's joy, Li Hai shook his head silently. Then he seemed to think of something, and a smile appeared on his indifferent and stiff face. He also followed out of the hall, through a newly renovated corridor, and came to the Nuanqin Pavilion. Although his and Mo Qin's injuries had long been healed, the master seemed to acquiesce to them here. He directly withdrew the medical practitioners and went to another place. Why does our deputy lordly have time to come back today? Qi Chen, who had just returned to the sect from his experience, heard the footsteps, and poked his head out and smiled. Brat! Li Hai scolded with a smile, and the wrinkles on his face stretched out. Only here could he really remove all disguises and relax completely. Not long after, Mo Qin, who was dressed in simple and elegant clothes, came out and naturally held Li Hai's arm with concern. Come on, come in and have a rest. Xiaoqian, go and make tea. Qi Chen smiled, then I won't disturb you two's intimacy. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately left the Warm Heart Pavilion and went out the door. This kid is getting more and more unreliable. He even dares to make up stories about you and me. Li Hai shook his head and chuckled. He looked around. Why don't I see Xiaoyang? He went to explore a cultivation relic with his friends and has not returned yet. Mo Qin explained, quietly looking at Li Hai's side face, as if she couldn't look at him. Yushu's sect had been destroyed for nearly 2 years, but the relationship between them seemed to have crossed many years and made rapid progress. This child puts too much pressure on himself. Li Hai sighed softly. He understood Bei Xiaoyang's idea. Only after experiencing the pain of imminent loss could he understand how important it was to be strong enough to control his own destiny. Wasn't he the same? However, he had passed the age where he needed to rely on experience to increase his experience. With the secret medicine specially prepared by the master, his current cultivation speed was not much slower than going out for adventure. Xiaoyang is not young, and they all have their own way of living. Mo Qin bowed her head and gently stroked Li Hai's rough palm. When Yushu's sect was destroyed, I thought everything was over. I was forced to stay here. I was more or less aggrieved, and I was not optimistic at all. This Ni sect is too unreal. I am very afraid that one day the holy sects will discover the secret of Zhouzhou region and destroy it. Li Hai chuckled softly. You underestimate the master too much. She is meticulous and intelligent. As you said, I was forced to stay in Ni sect. I only regarded it as an expedient measure, and even secretly planned to take you away, but later I gave up the idea. Li Hai held Mo Qin tightly, enjoying a moment of tenderness. The master is very young, but she is very powerful. Not only her cultivation, but also her heart. She is ruthless and even cruel to the enemy. But she is unbelievably good to her own people. But she is also very ruthless. If she finds a traitor, she will not care about the slightest old affection, and she will not hesitate to kill them. She is also very sophisticated in handling affairs. In the face of the Lord of Xingtian Shrine and the Lord of Qimo Circle, she talked and laughed cheerfully and indifferently. It is because of such a grand elder that I gave up the idea of leaving. Ni sect is cold on the outside and warm on the inside. It is difficult to find another place in Qingshui Circle that can make you and me so relaxed. Seeing Li Hai's true feelings, Mo Qin's eyes were a little wet. She smiled and sighed. Su Zhouzhou, as a woman, I admire her very much. Everyone is a blank piece of paper from birth. It's hard to imagine what she has experienced at such a young age to become like this. On the top of Mount Wang, Su Buwang hurriedly ran up, and a beautiful picture greeted his eyes. In Ni sect, it was spring all year round, and flowers and plants were lush. From a high place, the most suitable place to view the scenery was Mount Wang. At this moment, on the smooth stone platform on the top of Mount Wang, a table of delicacies was placed. The black veil was thrown under the stone couch, motionless in the wind. On the stone couch, Su Li sat cross-legged with her long skirt covering her knees. She supported her chin with one hand and held a wine glass with the other. She looked at the verdant mountain with blurred eyes, silent. The gentle morning light with a hint of purple dyed her eyelashes into a golden red color. As her eyelashes trembled, it was like dancing sparks. The long black hair like a waterfall was hidden in the shadows, like an elf in the night, quiet and profound. Su Buwang looked at this scene and was stunned for a while. Then he came to his senses and couldn't help but take out a light-splitting stone from the universe ring. "What are you doing?" Su Li suddenly turned her head and stared at Su Buwang with her pure black eyes, as if there were starlight shining in them. Su Buwang hurriedly put away the light-splitting stone and smiled foolishly. "Sister, you are so beautiful." Su Li raised her eyebrows slightly. "What are you hiding in the universe ring?" "Nothing, nothing." "Sister, you are wrong." Su Buwang immediately came over and sat opposite to Su Li. He looked around with a guilty conscience and casually changed the topic. "Sister, you didn't see it. You were really beautiful in that scene just now. If my mother was like you, I would be so happy that I couldn't find the edge." Su Li was stunned. She was silent for a moment and asked, "Really?" Chapter 602. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. You can search for the latest chapter. Of course it's true. Su Buwang was relieved when he saw that she didn't mention what happened just now. He scratched his head and smiled. "Sister, you won't be angry with me, right?" Su Li put down the cup and looked at Su Buwang's face, which was 60% similar to hers. She smiled very gently. "I won't be angry, Buwang. I mean if I am really your mother, what will you do?" Su Buwang blinked. "I heard that women hate it when others say that they are old." "My mother." Speaking of this, Su Buwang's smile became a little reluctant. If she is still alive, she should be more than 2,000 years old. "Sister, you are known as a 1 in a million evildoer. You are more than 900 years younger than me. How could it be? Is that so?" Su Li turned her gaze, picked up the wine cup and shook it at the morning light. "Wang, I am not as powerful as you say. But there are some things that must be done. Some hatred must be avenged. Otherwise, I will be unwilling and feel sorry for my past self." Su Buwang was confused. For him, who had little experience, Su Li's words seemed too difficult to understand. He scratched his head again. His sister used to call him Brother Buwang. Now she suddenly called him Wang. He was not used to it. "What are you doing in my Zhuzhou region?" Su Li interrupted Su Buwang's thinking. Su Buwang's face showed excitement again. "It's boring to stay in such an isolated place like Juecheng. This is the place where my mother was born. Of course, I have to come and see it. And with you, sister, I am not afraid of being killed by Xingtian Shrine." Su Li saw the change of Su Buwang's expression, which made her feel a little gloomy. At this point, she was no longer afraid of exposing her identity. But looking at the current test, even if she said it, even if she removed her disguise, would Su Buwang believe it? Or would he be angry because she desecrated the image of his mother in his heart? Or would he blame her for abandoning him for thousands of years and living a life worse than that of an orphan? Su Li closed her eyes and listened to Su Buwang's nagging in her ear. She admitted that she was afraid. "Buwang." Su Li opened her eyes and said softly, "You can stay here." "Great. I know you're the best." Su Buwang clenched his fists. He was really afraid that this person would say that this place was dangerous and send him back to Juecheng. "But Zhuzhou region is not as safe as you think." Su Li said again, and then awakened the nightmare in her body. Suddenly, a black light appeared out of thin air, turned into a lazy black cat, and jumped into Su Buwang's arms. What a handsome black cat! Is this a demon pet? Su Buwang's eyes brightened. He had wanted to raise a demon pet for a long time. Unfortunately, those who could afford to raise a demon pet in Qingshui Circle all had a strong background. Even Uncle Fong didn't have one. But when he arrived in Jouzhou region and just met the fairy sister, she actually gave him one. Seeing that he was so happy, Su Li smiled a little more. His name is Blackie, a nightmare soul beast that feeds on dreams. It's stronger than you. From now on, he will follow you as your companion. You must treat him well. What? He's actually stronger than me. Su Buwang widened his eyes, raised the black cat and looked at it carefully. He asked seriously, "Are you really stronger than me?" The black cat turned its head proudly, as if to say that if it weren't for the master's order, it wouldn't be his second master. Are you still not convinced? Su Buwang suddenly became interested. You're so intelligent. Wait for me. With my talent, it's just a matter of minutes to surpass you, a little black cat. Meow, meow, the black cat didn't care at all. It meowed twice and licked its claws. Su Li looked at this scene with a smile and her lips hummed. He is my only descendant. If he is in danger, you know what to do. When the black cat heard the sound transmission, he suddenly opened his eyes and nodded solemnly. Got it, master. By the way, Buwang. Su Li took out the jade mask and put it in front of Su Buwang. Maybe you don't know that this thing is the treasure used by your mother in the reincarnation mirror. You should keep it well and don't give it away casually. Su Buwang's face changed instantly. Is this mask my mother's? Su Li smiled and nodded gently. Su Buwang frowned. This thing was clearly given to him by a little palace maid in Xingtian Shrine. Later, the little palace maid died. He was sad for a while, and then gradually became numb. Too many palace maids died in Xingtian Shrine every day. But now his sister Jouzhou actually told him that this thing was his mother's. His sister wouldn't lie, so, who instructed the little palace maid to give this thing to him? Su Buwang squeezed the mask tightly, and his face gradually became ugly. He would never admit that the man actually had the leisure to do such a boring thing. What's wrong? You don't look so good. Su Li's concern woke Su Buwang up. Su Buwang looked up and smiled. He carefully put away the jade mask, no longer as casual as before. Sister, how do you know that this thing is my mother's? Su Li's eyes flashed. The past in the reincarnation mirror is not a secret for us. This mask is a magic treasure, the jade mask. It is not a nameless thing. Ling Qinglan and others recognized it at a glance. Yes, Ling Qinglan also came from the reincarnation mirror. Su Buwang suddenly realized, and then hesitated for a moment and said, Sister, I want to know brother Ling Qinglan. Can you introduce me to him? Su Li knew that he wanted to inquire more about her. After a moment of silence, she nodded. Yes, you can, but you can't disturb him too much. Do you understand? I understand. Su Buwang's eyes were full of expectation. I will never disturb him during the practice time. Su Li shook her head and sent a message to Ling Qinglan. Ling Qinglan was going to practice in isolation. After receiving Su Li's message, his expression suddenly changed, and he rushed to the top of Mount Jinwang without saying anything. Are you brother Ling Qinglan? Su Buwang's eyes flashed when he saw Ling Qinglan. Ling Qinglan was shocked when he saw Su Buwang's face, and he no longer doubted Su Li's message. He stared at Su Buwang's face, and his heart was full of complex emotions for a moment. He didn't know what to say. It seems that you have a lot to talk about. Su Li got up and walked down the stone platform. I won't bother you. Ling Qinglan gave way. At this moment, he looked at Su Li with vague gratitude. Thank you, master. I will talk with him. It won't delay the business. Su Li chuckled and waved her hand to leave. Don't worry. Don't forget that you will be a member of NI sect in the future. Ling Qinglan had a strange feeling in his heart when he heard the words. Although he didn't know why Su Jiuzhou knew her son, and why her son appeared here instead of in Xingtian Shrine, he was extremely grateful for everything in front of him. Just like he owed Su Li several lives in the past. What he owed Su Jiuzhou couldn't be paid off. He turned his head and stared at Su Buwang. Only one sentence made Su Buwang's eyes red. You really look like your mother. Whoosh! In the hall, Su Li took a long sigh of relief, and her expression was no longer soft. Zai, how is the investigation going? Yan Zai bowed his head slightly below the hall, but his tone was a little strange. Master, Xie Tianqing, the young master of Tianyik Attic, was at the gate of NI sect a few days ago, and it is said that he had contact with Buwang. His dress is very tacky. Su Li's eyes flashed. Where is he now? Yan Zai's expression suddenly became more strange. He sneaked into our NI sect. He is in Sister Hua Yan's Flower Valley. He is a handyman responsible for watering the flowers. Interesting. Su Li chuckled, and her figure disappeared like smoke in the blink of an eye. Yan Zai straightened up and said to himself, geniuses really can't be judged by logic. Master often says something difficult to understand, but this young master must be a psycho. God knew how he felt when he investigated carefully these days and followed the clues left by this young master all the way to Flower Valley. Flower Valley was full of female disciples. How did he sneak in as a man? If it weren't for his identity as the deputy lord and the justifiable reason, he would almost be thrown out of Flower Valley by Sister Hua Yan. Even so, the female disciples in Flower Valley looked at him in a strange way recently, as if they were looking at a lecher. Bah! I am such a person. Why should I steal a cultivation companion when I can't find one? Damn, Xie Tianqing, I'll remember you. Yan Zai cursed and left, completely forgetting that he used to be a holy son of a holy sect. In Flower Valley, it was a scene of singing and swallows. Xie Tianqing lay in the Wanhua plain and looked at the female disciples who came and went around picking flowers. He couldn't help but sigh, this is life. Thinking that almost 99% of the disciples in Tianqing Valley were male, he couldn't help but feel sad. Old ancestor, is there something wrong with your direction? You don't like female disciples and always choose male disciples to enter the valley, which makes the talents in Tianqing Valley wither. The atmosphere of the sect is getting worse and worse year by year. When I become an old ancestor, I must make changes. Xie Tianqing lay down and made an ambitious wish. Suddenly, a girl in a pink sect dress stopped and smiled at Xie Tianqing, who was lying in the flowers. Senior sister apprentice, why are you still lazy? If you don't pick them, some flowers will wither at noon. If you can't finish the task given by the Lord, you won't be rewarded by the sect. Xie Tianqing quickly sat up and smiled apologetically. Got it, junior sister. I'll go now. In the girl's eyes, Xie Tianqing had clearly become a female disciple who was wearing the same dress as her and was smiling at her. The girl turned around with a strange look on her face. Why does senior sister look so abnormal today? After she left, Xie Tianqing breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he walked a bit further away. After making sure that no other female disciples were approaching, he lay back down and took in a deep breath of the fragrant flowers. His expression relaxed, but before he could say anything, the faint voice of a woman drifted into his ears, almost causing him to choke. Didn't anyone tell you that if you smell these mixed flowers too much, you will be poisoned? Chapter 603. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Xie Tianqing was shocked. He suddenly opened his eyes and straightened up. He didn't know when a black figure appeared in front of him. Xie Tianqing immediately recognized who it was from the iconic black gauze skirt. Su Li turned around. Xie Tianqing was stunned by her elegant and pale face with a different kind of cold beauty. In addition to all kinds of amazing means, her face was not much worse than that of the holy girl Su in the past. Senior. Senior Su, I've heard a lot about you. Xie Tianqing laughed guiltily. He coughed and then said, it's better to meet you in person. The scenery of your sect is much more beautiful than that of the top holy sections. I was so happy that I mistakenly entered the Flower Valley. Senior, you won't blame me, right? Remove your disguise first, and then talk. Su Li chuckled and waved her hand. Suddenly, several female disciples were unconsciously attracted to her, talking and laughing with each other. Xie Tianqing was dumbfounded. Seeing that Su Li's eyes were getting more and more strange, he gritted his teeth and made up his mind to remove the secret skill. Ah! Lecher! The scream of the Flower Valley broke through the air. After a while, in the hall, Yan Zai gloated at Xie Tianqing, who was standing in the center of the hall with a swollen face and a bloody nose. How dare you be so arrogant in front of Master? Ignorant people are fearless. When Master was in the world of the reincarnation mirror, he was the master of playing tricks on people. You can't catch up with him even if you practice for thousands of years. Su Li turned around and sat down. She supported her right cheek with her slender right hand and said teasingly, how about it, young Master Xie? Are you satisfied with the hospitality of our Ni sect? Yes, I'm satisfied. Xie Tianqing rubbed his bruised face. He couldn't help but gasp when he remembered that he was fixed by Su Jiuzhou and the small pink fists fell on his face. Oh my, he finally met his match. A man should know when to yield and when to stand tall. It's respectful to be afraid first. Senior Su, in fact, this time I came here by the order of my ancestor. He specially invited you to be a guest in the Tianxinge Valley. Su Li intended to go to the Tianxinge Valley, but Xie Tianqing's arrival was too coincidental. Her eyes flashed and her tone remained the same, really? Tianyake Attic is the most mysterious force in Qingshui Circle. Even the top holy sects don't know the location of the Tianxinge Valley. Is it really good to expose it? Xie Tianqing chuckled, the truth is, even the sect heads of the Peak Sage sect have been to the Sky Star Valley before. It's just that after they return, they would completely forget the location of the Sky Star Valley. You'll know when you get there. I see, Su Li said, but why should I go? Just because you, the young Horizon Master, personally came to invite him? Xie Tianqing broke out in a cold sweat and shook his head repeatedly. Of course not. My ancestor brought a token. He said that as long as you see it, you will definitely not refuse. With that, Xie Tianqing took out a sealed envelope from the universe ring and threw it into the nothingness. The envelope flew away by itself and floated in front of Su Li. Su Li glanced at Xie Tianqing, who couldn't hide his uneasiness. She stretched out her fingertips to pinch the envelope and opened it. There was only a thin picture inside, and it was the ordinary rice paper used by mortals. She unfolded it and the image on it entered her eyes. On the side of the street, a handsome young man stretched out his hand and let the old beggar draw a black mark on his wrist. This scene immediately evoked memories. She remembered that when she was in the reincarnation mirror, she just entered Yunjing and started to decorate the Linli building, she met the old beggar. Later, Wang Er's life was saved, and he also contributed to it. Sure enough, the world is fake, and humans can't be counted either. The old beggar's sigh seemed to ring in his ears again. You really are from the Heavenly Star Valley. Su Li narrowed her eyes slightly. As a body of evil ghost, her spiritual sense was so sharp that it couldn't be measured by common sense. As early as when she saw Xia Wei in the ascending immortal domain, she had a sense of familiarity, so she had some guesses. Xie Tianqing stared at Su Li expressionlessly in the hall, and his heart thumped. Something was wrong. The unreliable old ancestor clearly said that if Su Jiuzhou saw the contents of the envelope, she would be shocked. Even if she didn't, her expression would always change faintly under the fluctuation of her state of mind. But now, there was no change at all. Great-grandfather, what you said is not accurate, that's Xia Wei, maybe Xie Tianwei's real name, right? Su Li suddenly said. Xie Tianqing was shocked and blurted out, how do you know? Xie Tianwei was his elder brother, his biological elder brother. Ordinary people only knew that he was the young lord of the Heavenly Star Valley, but they didn't know that his elder brother hid his name for the future of the valley and had been inquiring about the news in the ascending immortal domain. But no one knew this except for his family, let alone Sujojo. And your old ancestor is a very tasteless old guy, isn't he? Su Li continued to say with a smile on her face, which made Xie Tianqing more frightened. Was there a spy in the Heavenly Star Valley? Forget it. Let's stop joking. You look cynical, but you can't help being funny at all. Su Li stopped smiling, and her eyes were as cold as lightning. Guessed? Sure. But there is a condition. What condition? Xie Tianqing's heart was beating like a drum. For the first time, he felt that the identity of the young lord of the Heavenly Star Valley didn't seem to have any confidence. Su Li stared at Xie Tianqing until he was sweating all over. Then she smiled and showed her white teeth. You don't need to know this condition. I think your old ancestor will agree. Xie Tianqing didn't know why, but he was even more panicked. Half a day later, Xie Tianqing and Su Li with a veil came to the northernmost region. The environment of this region was harsh and not suitable for mortals to live in. There was not enough people, so no one set foot here except for some practitioners who practiced snow methods. Xie Tianqing stopped in front of an ice lake and threw a jade rune from the universe ring onto the ice in the center of the lake. The ice suddenly melted and turned into sparkling lake water, as if the frozen scene just now was just an illusion. Senior Su, the Heavenly Star Valley is under the ice. Let's go. Su Li nodded gently and jumped into the lake with Xie Tianqing. After a few breaths, a black figure emerged from the snow by the lake. His cold and resolute face was full of snow water, and he was frowning. Who else could it be but Ling Li? Why did Xie Tianqing invite Su Jouzhou to the Heavenly Star Valley? Ling Li thought quickly. He was waiting here for Xie Tianqing to open the entrance of the Heavenly Star Valley, but he didn't expect. Looking at the ice that was about to freeze again, Ling Li had no time to think and jumped into the lake. It turns out to be a space passage. Su Li walked in the rippling water space, and the surrounding was full of distorted scenes. It seemed that the so-called under the ice was just a cover. Under the distortion of space, it was difficult to trace the source unless the great emperor came in person. No wonder the holy sects didn't find the real location of the Heavenly Star Valley for so many years. Xie Tianqing's eyes flashed, and he transmitted the sound, Senior Su, why did you stop me from putting away the jade rune? Young Master Xie is smart and quick-witted. Can't you guess it? Xie Tianqing's expression changed slightly. Someone really followed them. Let him follow us. Your Heavenly Star Valley is not short of strong practitioners, so it is easy to control him. If it is not easy, I am willing to do it for you. Xie Tianqing nodded, but he was curious about who was following them and why Su Jouzhou deliberately let him into the Heavenly Star Valley. Let's go. Su Li quickened her pace. Xie Tianqing was stunned and hurried to keep up. Senior Su, wait for me. After 10 minutes, they reached the end of the passage. Su Li stepped into the exit. The scene in front of her changed instantly, and a burst of peach fragrance came into her nostrils. Su Li stood in the air and looked at the peach blossom forest in the valley below her feet. She could faintly see the villages dotted with some disciples. It was a very harmonious scene, but somehow, Su Li felt that the Tianqing Valley, which was hidden by the forest, seemed to be less lively. Senior Su, this is the residence of ordinary disciples of the Heavenly Star Valley. Let's go up the mountain. Xie Tianqing flew out and landed in the nothingness in front of her. Because of his steps, a rainbow-like road appeared in the sky. Inhibition? Su Li showed a look of interest. She landed on the colorful road which seemed as light as a feather, but she walked on it as if she was walking on flat ground. Senior Su, you also know the inhibition? Xie Tianqing looked back in surprise. He smiled while leading the way. This road is reserved for distinguished guests like you by the Grand Elder. The thief behind you doesn't have such treatment. He may have to go to the mountain gate below and wait for the announcement. Su Li nodded with a chuckle. She just wanted to know what he was doing here. She definitely didn't want to help him. As they walked along the Rainbow Road, the back road gradually disappeared. At the end of the road, an antique thatched cottage standing on the top of the mountain came into view. This is the residence of the old ancestor. I won't go up. Senior Su, please. Xie Tianqing sent Su Li to the front of the thatched cottage, and then immediately went down the mountain. He was very curious about the identity of the thief behind her. After Xie Tianqing left, Su Li pushed open the wooden door. The fragrance of the thatched cottage mixed with the fragrance of sandalwood came to her face. Ahem. I'm really honored to have Grand Elder Su here. With the voice, the old beggar slowly walked out of the inner room with a cane. At this moment, he was no longer the poor image in the reincarnation mirror. The dark blue robe on his body flashed with starlight, which was obviously a magic treasure. Hearing the old beggar's words, Su Li's eyes flashed and she nodded slightly. May I know your name? My name has been forgotten with the passage of time. Grand Elder Su, just call me Old Ancestor Tianqing. Before the old beggar finished his words, he was suddenly interrupted by an exasperated voice. Old Bai, you old bastard really didn't die. No one remembers you. I can recognize you even if you turn into ashes, Bai Xiao. Su Li looked at Black Lotus, who suddenly came out of Black Lotus ring in surprise. Did they know each other? You. Qianmu. The old beggar looked at the shadow of Black Lotus in amazement, and his eyes suddenly became a little excited. You didn't die. Great. Bullshit. Black Lotus scolded and was extremely excited, regardless of his image. Didn't you say that only I, the most precious treasure, would survive? What happened to me? Everyone thought that I was dead, and I was imprisoned by the stupid reincarnation mirror. I deserved it. Chapter 604. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Bai Xiao was embarrassed. Extremely embarrassed. He wanted to pretend to be profound in front of Su Jiuzhou, but Qianmu showed up unexpectedly. So, he didn't know how to continue pretending. Well, Black Lotus, since you know each other, you can say anything later. Su Li timely stopped Black Lotus from continuing to spit out fragrant words. She conjured an exquisite tea table and chairs, sat on one side, and then invited Bai Xiao to sit down. Bai Xiao glanced at the tattered tea set in the inner room, and then looked at the shining cups on Su Li's table. He suddenly felt ashamed, sighed, and sat opposite Su Li. He looked ashamed, but his heart was another picture. Although Qianmu's appearance was a happy thing, he still had no conclusion whether Su Jiuzhou was her or not. The skill of Tianqing couldn't be fully trusted. Even so, he needed to verify it in person, otherwise there would be big trouble. Tianqing also transmitted the sound to him. When Su Jiuzhou saw the painting, she didn't show any emotion. Either Su Jiuzhou was not Su Li, so he didn't recognize her, or Su Li was more scheming than before. No matter what kind of mood fluctuation, she would not show it on her face. Since Su Jiuzhou entered the door, he seemed to respond, but in fact, he had been observing Su Jiuzhou's words and deeds, trying to find a sense of familiarity, but until now, he hadn't found it. Su Li bowed her head and poured a cup of tea for the silent old beggar. I heard from Black Lotus that your name is Bai Xiao. Is it related to fate ancestor Bai Ming? Bai Xiao only felt a headache. The reason why he didn't want to say his name was because of this. Grand Elder Su, why do you have to face difficulties and have a relationship with the holy girl Su? With your talent and strength, it is easy to establish a sect and establish prestige. Even the head of Xingtian Shrine will see your potential and make friends with you. Su Li bowed her head and slowly took a sip of tea. She said unhurriedly, I am not here to answer questions for old ancestor Bai, and Xie Tianqing personally promised that you will answer one of my questions unconditionally. Bai Xiao. Xie Tianqing, who was waiting in front of the mountain gate, suddenly sneezed and shivered. He muttered uncomfortably, what's going on? Who's talking about me? If one does not keep his word, he will not be able to stand tall. isn't the most important thing for your heavenly star valley? Su Li took off her veil and revealed her face in this life. She stared at Bai Xiu with her bright eyes, which made his scalp numb. Senior, as the ancestor of Tianqing school, you should set an example. Bai Xiu fell into a dilemma again. Should he believe Su Jiuzhou? Master! Master! I'm back! Suddenly, a familiar woman's voice sounded from outside the door. Bai Xiu woke up with a start, but it was too late to stop her. He could only watch helplessly as the woman in the disciple uniform of the benevolent Cloud House pushed the door open and walked in. When Xian Yu saw someone in the room, she was stunned. When she saw Su Li sitting opposite to her master, she realized that she seemed to have ruined her master's plan. Aside from her master and the benevolent Cloud House's supreme elder, no one else knew that she was a disciple of the Heavenly Star Valley. It turns out that you are Xian Yu's master. No wonder, Su Li thought of Xian Yu's strange performance in the Tianjiao tournament. It turned out that she was guided by Bai Xiu. It was not surprising that the ancestor of Tianqing school could foresee some things with his deduction skill. Senior Su. Xian Yu gritted her teeth and suddenly walked to Su Li. Then she knelt down. You, Bai Xiu's expression changed slightly, but Xian Yu was stubborn and didn't want to get up. Su Li stopped smiling and said lightly, "What are you doing?" Xian Yu cupped her hands and said in a clear and firm voice, "Senior, please save my master's life. My master once said that he was going to die and only with the help of a great benefactor could he have a chance to escape. Therefore, my master divined that you are the great benefactor. Senior Su, please help my master. I am willing to do anything." "Okay." Su Li put down the cup, and her eyes flickered. She answered lightly, "As long as you can persuade the benevolent Cloud House to join my Ni sect, I will promise you." "Really?" Xian Yu's eyes brightened. "You, Bai Xiu faintly showed an ugly expression, "You have no right to speak here. Get out." "What's wrong, Ancestor Bai?" Su Li straightened her back and looked at Bai Xiu meaningfully, "Do you think I am joking?" Bai Xiu was shocked and speechless. "Everything I've said is true." She smiled and gently swirled the clear tea in the cup. She stared at the distorted face rippling in the tea. "You invited me here today to deal with Bai Ming, right?" Since Grand Elder Su said so, Bai Xiu smiled bitterly. Xian Yu disturbed his pneuma, so he had no other choice. Xian Yu knew that her master had made up his mind. She couldn't help but stick out her tongue. Then she got up and closed the wooden door again. The light in the room dimmed a little, and the atmosphere was silent for a moment. Bai Xiu's tangled face suddenly relaxed, and he said in a low voice, "Bai Ming is my biological brother." Su Li's eyes flashed and she continued to listen. In front of the mountain gate of Tianqing Valley, Xie Tianqing raised his eyebrows and sneered when he saw the person. "I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be our Lord of Evil." Ling Li looked at Xie Tianqing and suddenly felt trouble. "Why are you here?" He had contact with Xie Tianqing in the past, and Xie Tianqing was defeated by him, so he had a deep grudge against him. In addition, all kinds of deliberately spread by Xingtian Shrine outside. Ha ha ha. Xie Tianqing laughed wildly and looked unfathomable. "Do you really think that I don't know you are behind me? Now you can appear here because I am merciful and deliberately let you in. Do you know that? You can't find me." Ling Li looked over Xie Tianqing. "Are you Su Jiuzhou? Why can't I find you?" Xie Tianqing suddenly became angry out of shame. "Thanks to you, it is much easier to break through in Qingshui Circle than before. Although I am older than you, I also broke through to pass nature's test and was at the same level as you." Xie Tianqing was still nagging, but Ling Li had no patience to entangle with him anymore. He frowned and interrupted, "Is the head of your valley here? I want to borrow the fate-returning mirror." "Ling Li, are you still sleepy?" Xie Tianqing sneered. "When you broke in last time, my father said very clearly that the treasure of Tianqing Valley would never be lent to holy sects controlled by the Fate Palace, not to mention Xingtian Shrine which colluded with the Fate Palace. You I have left Xingtian Shrine. Ling Li interrupted Xie Tianqing and said, you will know it as soon as you see it. Xie Tianqing suddenly laughed louder. He pointed at Ling Li and said sarcastically, you have left Xingtian Shrine? What day is it today? How can you, a coffin board, make a joke? If you say that Ling Xian left Xingtian Shrine, I may believe it. But you? Are you kidding me? You don't believe it? Ling Li lowered his voice and said, then, how about we make a bet? Okay. Xie Tianqing was afraid that Ling Li would regret, so he said quickly, this is what you said. If you really leave Xingtian Shrine, I will not be the young master of Tianqing Valley. But if you lie. Xie Tianqing's face became insidious, I want you to unconditionally promise me a request. Okay. Ling Li simply nodded, can you take me to see the head of the valley? Xie Tianqing was immediately stunned. So straightforward. So straightforward. Why, can't I? Ling Li frowned, faintly revealing a repressed hostility. Xie Tianqing nodded quickly, yes, of course, come with me. Who cares? Anyway, the young master is not me. He is my elder brother. So what if I lose? I don't lose anything. He laughed in his heart. Ling Li, you still lost to me in terms of intelligence. In the thatched cottage on the top of the mountain, so, you and your brother have different ideas. He left Tianqing Valley to establish the Fate Palace and became your enemy. In order to prove that the natural law is supreme and inviolable. Su Li said softly, and her tone was a little strange, but it seems to me that your useless brother ran away from home angrily because he failed to control Tianqing Valley. Bai Xiu's face darkened, and he was speechless. However, there is one thing that ancestor Bai must have heard. Even Qi Tian didn't know your brother Bai Ming's strength or the ancient secret skill he mastered. Maybe, Su Li's tone slowed down, your brother has long been dead. No, he is still in the world. Bai Xiu's old eyes flashed with firmness, he is just suppressed by Bai Mo. Su Li's eyes flashed. This title coincided with that of the first elder of the Ling family. Was the Fate ancestor of the Fate Palace really Bai Mo who killed Ling Qingshui and destroyed an era? Bai Ming is the lineal descendant of Tianqing Valley. He is my brother. He knows all the secret skills of Tianqing, and naturally has learned all the secret skills of life-saving. I dare not say anything else, but the life-saving skills of Tianqing Valley, even someone as strong as Bai Mo, can't see the whole picture. Maybe Bai Mo thinks that my brother's consciousness has dissipated, but my brother's life token has not been broken. Bai Xiu's eyes were full of hope, he may be hiding in a corner of the physical body occupied by Bai Mo, waiting for me to save him. I see. Su Li tapped her knuckles, and her eyes turned for a moment. Suddenly, she said faintly, I wonder if Ancestor Bai has ever heard of the name Ling Qingshui? Bai Xiu's old body suddenly shook, and he looked at Su Li in shock, you. Su Li narrowed her eyes and chuckled, it seems that you have heard of it. Then you should also know the truth about the destruction of the Ling family, right? Bai Xiu's wrinkled forehead was covered with cold sweat, which was rare. He stared at Su Li with his turbid eyes full of horror, and said in a trembling voice, Ling family, that Ling family. All the memories about that era were regarded as a shame by the natural law and forcibly erased. You, how do you know? Chapter 605. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Ling family told me in person, of course. Su Li smiled mysteriously. Her expression was always so calm, which made Bai Xiu fall into a trance for a moment. He shook his head and said in a low voice, it has been 10,000 years since Ling Qingshui died. That person was as evil as you. He became an immortal at 8,000 years old. He was so fast that the natural law was suppressed before it could react. He became the dominator. I was thousands of years older than him, but he still called me eldest brother. Speaking of this, Bai Xiu showed a nostalgic smile on his face, and then became gloomy again, one day, he suddenly found me and asked me to seal the Tianqing Valley into the nothingness with the secret skill of Tianqing. I didn't understand, but I believed in his character. Even if I used that forbidden skill, it would consume a lot of energy for me. Suli listened quietly, as if she could see the sadness of that evil person in the past arranging the funeral for his family and friends. The disaster came suddenly. Bai Xiu's turbid eyes were slightly red. The Ghost Clan was the first to bear the brunt. The Ghost King was killed, and then Qingshui's family was destroyed by the natural law's thunder test. That was all. Then I found that the memory about Qingshui was disappearing in large pieces. No one remembered him. No one remembered why this circle was called Qingshui Circle. The natural law was erasing the memory, as if it was erasing its own shame. The amnesia spread very fast. In order to avoid the harm of the natural law, some old friends and I hid in the reincarnation mirror, but found that the memory of the reincarnation mirror was also erased, and we couldn't come out. We were trapped for 10,000 years. After the reincarnation mirror was broken, several old guys and I were able to get out, but we faced Qingshui Circle, which was even more desperate. Maybe soon, even the name of Qingshui Circle will be changed. No one will remember him except the early name of Lihan the Great Emperor. Desperate situation, Suli was thinking. Ling Qingshui was already an immortal. According to the short contact that day, Bai Mo's strength was definitely not an immortal. At most, he was at the peak of Deshang. He couldn't be Ling Qingshui's opponent. She'd obtained a lot of general knowledge about the immortal Tao from Lin Chen's secrets, and amongst them was a description of the Mother World's heavenly Tao. Lin Chen said that there were countless cultivation circles in the universe, and Qingshui Circle was just a drop in the ocean. It was just an ordinary small cultivation circle. Fortunately, the natural law was intact, and the fire of cultivation could be spread. If someone was able to break through the shackles of the heaven Tao and attain the mortal-immortal realm, then this world would become that person's mother world, and it wouldn't suppress or control him at all. If the heaven Tao had a spirit, it would even take pride in it and provide great assistance. But what about Ling Qingshui? He should have been invincible in this world, so why did he die such a miserable death that even the heavenly Tao felt ashamed of it? He could not figure it out. Suli rubbed her eyebrows and temporarily suppressed her thoughts. So you see the hope of defeating White Demon in me? Bai Xiu was silent for a moment before nodding. I don't have long to live. Perhaps I won't be able to see the day you defeat White Demon. However, before that, I will do my best to help you. Tianqing Valley can even violate the ancestral teachings and temporarily join your NI sect while I am alive. As soon as he said that, the entire Tianqing Valley immediately shook slightly, as if there was an earthquake. Suli stared at Bai Xiu with burning eyes. Are you sure that your dead ancestors will let you do this? After I die, I will go to my ancestors to ask for forgiveness. Bai Xiu's eyes showed determination. White Demon's erosion is not fast, but it penetrates deeply. More than 1/3 of the 53 holy sects that originally followed him have been completely controlled by him. Even if Qingshui Circle has been in a state of no master, I don't want to see the entire Qingshui Circle fall into his hands. His eyes were full of killing intent. White Demon is definitely not a person of this world. I have never heard of his means even if I have searched through the ancestral records. I don't know what method he used to bewitch the natural law, but as long as he is exposed, the natural law will never spare him. Su Li's eyes flashed. She was the same. Once her identity as a member of prehistoric ghost clan was exposed, the natural law would never let her live. In this way, she was somewhat similar to White Demon. Old Ancestor Bai, I still have a question. If you can answer my doubts, our cooperation will be successful. Suli reached out to pour a cup of tea for Bai Xiu and said softly, the master of Xingtian Shrine is also surnamed Ling. His son Ling Li is the Emperor of Evil, who is a ruthless character. His daughter Ling Xian even joined the Fate Palace. Is this Ling, the Ling of Ling Qingshui? Absolutely impossible. Bai Xiu snorted with a cold face. I have specially measured the fortune for this. The master of Xingtian Shrine has been hiding his face all the time. I can't see through his true face, but he is definitely not a member of the Ling family. He may even deliberately change his surname to Ling. But Xingtian Shrine stole the luck of the Ling family in those years to be able to develop. I don't know how the imposter did it, but once something goes wrong with this trick, Xingtian Shrine will suffer the backfire of luck and suffer a disaster. Su Li squinted her eyes and chuckled, "Old Bai, please take care of me in the future. With your auspicious words, maybe I can go to Xingtian Shrine to watch a good show." Bai Xiu was confused and didn't understand. "I have stayed long enough today. I still have something important to do, so it's time to leave." Bai Xiu nodded and said, "Well, we have the Tianqing Disk in Tianqing Valley, which can transmit messages regardless of distance. But only people in Tianqing Valley can use it. For the convenience of communication, I will let Xia Tianqing stay in Ni sect. What do you think?" Su Li rolled her eyes, "But he is the young lord on the surface anyway, it doesn't matter. He has been silent for many years. It's time to let Tianwei know his identity." Bai Xiu made up his mind, and his eyes lit up, "If I can't succeed this time, I will die." Hearing this, Su Li smiled slightly, "I'm leaving now." After that, she floated into the nothingness, stepped on the colorful road, and went away quickly. Bai Xiu saw the inhibition again. "My inhibition has been seen through. Su Jouzhou is so young, but she also knows the way of inhibition." Bai Xiu slowly had a question mark in his heart. Was she really less than 100 years old? She was so much more talented than Qing Shui, but the natural law didn't kill her. At this moment, in the main hall of Tianqing Valley, the Lord of Tianqing Valley sat in the upper hall with a calm face. Looking at the tall and resolute figure in the hall, he frowned tightly. Seeing his father's expression, Xia Tianqing couldn't help but be surprised. Ling Li actually left Xingtian Shrine. Big news. After so long, no one knew it. No wonder Su Jouzhou didn't catch you. It turns out that you left Xingtian Shrine, so she naturally has no reason to catch you. Xia Tianqing suddenly realized. "Tianqing, don't talk nonsense." The Lord of Tianqing Valley scolded. Xia Tianqing immediately shrank his neck and stood aside without talking. The Lord of Tianqing Valley hesitated for a moment and said in a deep voice, "Ling Li, you are now a casual practitioner without any sect. Even Xingtian Shrine will hate you. Logically, Tianqing Valley should lend you the fate-returning mirror, but you are different. You are the evil emperor, and your hands are stained with the blood of too many innocent people. You have sinned deeply. Even if you turn over a new leaf. I need to ask the old ancestor." As he said, the Lord of Tianqing Valley slowly closed his eyes. Ling Li was silent and raised his hands. They were clean, but he saw that his eyes were full of blood. In addition to the blood of innocent people, there was also the blood of clansmen. How could it be enough to only have sinned deeply? The fate-returning mirror was the unique treasure of Tianqing Valley. As long as one's yearning was strong enough, one could see the past and present lives of the person he missed. However, it could only be used for the dead, and the soul must be intact to reincarnate. If the soul was scattered or still alive, the fate-returning mirror would not respond at all. He came here now for no other purpose. If there was a next life, he wanted to see her again. If there was no next life, he could go, to atone for his sins without any worries. Seeing that his father still didn't open his eyes, Xia Tianqing couldn't help but pout. The old ancestor must still be talking with Su Jouzhou in secret. How could he have time to care about him? Besides, the fate-returning mirror must have a strong and pure yearning. Ling Li was a ruthless killer. Shouldn't the world only have two choices in his eyes, to kill or not to kill? How could there be any emotions? He probably borrowed the life-returning mirror to kill someone again, right? At this moment, the Lord of Tianqing Valley suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Ling Li strangely. "Ling Li, the old ancestor wants to see you. Come with me." Ling Li couldn't help but be slightly stunned, and then nodded. Xie Tianqing was shocked. Father, does the old ancestor really want to see him? The Lord of Tianqing Valley nodded. Then he seemed to think of something and transmitted the sound, by the way, pack up and go to Ni sect. Xie Tianqing was stunned. I just came back. How can I go there again? The old ancestor means that you will stay in Ni sect in the future and listen to the command of Grand Elder Su. You should control your temper there and don't offend Grand Elder Su. Xie Tianqing was immediately dumbfounded. Karma came so fast. After a while, Ling Li came to the thatched hut. He saw the exquisite tea tray furniture placed at the gate, and then looked at other simple decorations in the house. He always felt that the tea table and chairs were somewhat incompatible with the thatched hut. Sit down when you come, Bai Xiu said without raising his head. At this moment, his mind was a little confused. Su Jouzhou just left, and the news that Ling Li left Xingtian Shrine came. In addition, Su Jouzhou said meaningful, good play, before she left, so he couldn't help thinking more. He had always been doubtful about the origin of Xingtian Shrine. Since Ling Li came with a request, maybe he could gain something. Ling Li was a little flattered, but he still came over and sat down. He cupped his fists and said, I'm Ling Li, old ancestor of Tianqing Valley. Bai Xiu raised his head and looked at Ling Li carefully. He only felt that his eyes were full of blood. He couldn't help but click his tongue. You deserve to be the Lord of Evil. You are full of sinful blood. Did you dig your ancestral grave? When Ling Li saw Bai Xiu's face, his expression changed instantly. He said in a low voice. It's you. It's me, an old beggar. Bai Xiu showed his white teeth and said with a smile, Hierarch of Yinma clan, did you have a good time killing the 100,000 talents? I did have a good time. The lackeys of the Fate Palace should all die. Chapter 606. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Ling Li looked at Bai Xiu silently for a moment and said, lend me the fate returning mirror. Oh, you haven't given up yet. Bai Xiu stared at Ling Li, look at your bitter face. What happened to you recently? Why do you want to leave Xingtian Shrine? Ling Li lowered his head and touched his chest. He said in a cold voice, if I tell you, will you lend me the fate returning mirror? Of course. What's wrong with lending it to you? Bai Xiu rolled his eyes, I also want to know whether Su Li has a next life. But, even if she is lucky, she has already forgotten the past. Why do you bother? Ling Li didn't answer Bai Xiu. He looked down at his face in the tea. Suddenly, the water rippled, and he seemed to see her again. His cold lips showed a trace of gentleness, old beggar, do you know the Lihan tablet? Huh? Bai Xiu's pupils suddenly shrank. Before he spoke, Ling Li raised his head and looked straight at Bai Xiu, saying, I am the tablet keeper. Bai Xiu's old face darkened, it's you. You suppressed the clansmen of the great emperor of Lihan. You really know the inside story. Ling Li smiled and looked down at his hands with deep self-mockery. Yes, I suppressed the evil spirits that turned into ghosts with my own blood. Boom. In the cloudless sky, a lightning flashed, illuminating Bai Xiu, who was horrified, and Ling Li's back, which was no longer straight. Master, isn't Ling Li the evil emperor? Why does this name appear on the memorial tablet in the ancestral hall of Xingxian Mountain? Jiang Run looked confused. He couldn't help but ask when he was alone with Ling Mo, are they the same person? Ling Mo was slightly moved, but he didn't show it on the surface. He continued to deal with the documents in his hands and said without looking up, maybe it's just a coincidence. Master, I don't think so. Jiang Run lowered his voice again and got close to Ling Mo's ear, for fear that the next words would be heard. Master, do you know what I said when I was trapped in the ancestral hall? What? Unconsciously, Ling Mo stopped writing and turned to look at Jiang Run. Jiang Run's expression was serious, his voice solemn. If I don't destroy the heavenly Tao, I'm not human. Well said. Suddenly a shout rang in the ears of the two, which scared them greatly. Ling Mo's eyes were cold, and he suddenly turned his head. The brush in his hand fell, and the ink stains were all over the paper. Su Li pushed the door open and walked in aboveboard. The door behind her was closed instantly. "Sir, why are you here?" Jiang Run, on the other hand, was both surprised and overjoyed. "I am the elder of the Linli building. Can't I come back to see?" Ling Mo kept a cold face and looked at Su Li with vigilance. "All right, stop pointing that coffin lid at me." Su Li waved her hand and motioned Jiang Run to go out. Jiang Run smiled and turned to leave. He believed that Su Jouzhou had no malice. "Looks like this disciple of mine has been completely bought over by you." Ling Mo crumpled the paper on the table and threw it aside. His words were full of wariness. "You are already the lord of a region and the grand elder of a holy sect. My small temple can't accommodate a big bodhisattva like you." Jiang Run. "See the guest out." Jiang Run stood at the door, his eyes focused on his nose and his nose focused on his heart, not moving an inch. Ling Mo was immediately angry, but he was stopped by Su Li before he got angry. "Don't be so polite." Su Li walked to the opposite of Ling Mo and moved a chair to sit down. She said faintly, "Lingli is indeed the Lingli on the memorial tablet, but he didn't know it. He knew it recently, so he left Xingtian Shrine and disappeared." Ling Mo was obviously shocked by Su Li's words, and he was silent for a while. After a long time, it seemed that he digested the content. He didn't mention the matter of seeing the guest out just now, but asked, "Did Lingli really leave Xingtian Shrine?" Su Li nodded and smiled. "Why should I lie to you? Do you think that after he left Xingtian Shrine, the owner of the Linli building can finally come to the light?" Ling Mo was shocked again. "You know it?" "I guessed it when I came here for the first time." Su Li shook her head and chuckled. "Your lying ability is really not good. Are people from Shura holy sect relatively dull? It's unrealistic to rebuild the Linli building with the power in your hand. And who can easily persuade you to show up in public and even do the paperwork that you hate the most?" Su Li's nails tapped on the table and made a sound. "Probably no one except that person." Ling Mo fell into complete silence. Su Li was not in a hurry. She focused on picking her nails. Sometimes there was a gray film flashing from the nails. "What you said is right." Ling Mo's voice became a little hoarse. "Child, worked too hard. I took the initiative to find him and wanted to help him. He didn't want to at first, but I said that after I defected, I had nowhere to go. He finally agreed." "Child," Su Li sighed leisurely and supported her chin with her right hand naturally. "It's really an ancient name. So I said that you people from Shura holy sect are a group of blockheads. You are like this, so are the guards of Yunwei. There is one thing I don't understand. Why do you know us so well?" Ling Mo's eyes changed a little with a little expectation. He couldn't help but ask, "Who are you? Does it matter who I am?" Su Li raised her head and stared at Ling Mo. "If I say that I am Su Li, will you believe it? Are you struggling for yourself or for Lingli? Or, just a chance to atone for your sins?" Ling Mo looked at Su Li in a daze and was speechless. "Why don't you speak?" Su Li looked up and leaned against the back of the chair. It was an ordinary wooden chair, but she sat on it like a throne. She was superior and looked at Ling Mo. "Then I ask you, what is the meaning of Lingli building the Linli building?" "Of course, it is to destroy the Fate Palace one day and avenge my husband and Su Li. How many years do you think it will take for you to move out of the Yinyang region and appear in the eyes of the world? If I give you a chance to join the Ni sect with the identity of the Linli building and kill the Fate ancestor together, are you willing to accept it?" I have to ask the child." "What child?" "If Lingli doesn't show up, will you keep waiting? Can't you have a little bit of your own personality? Are you a blockhead?" "I am not. Believe me, even if Lingli is here, he will not refuse me. I helped him pull out the evil sword in his body. Because of this, he can leave Xingtian Shrine. Otherwise, he can only be a slave of Xingtian Shrine for a lifetime. I, Su Jouzhou, am Ling Li's great benefactor. I will not hurt him. Join my Ni sect, and you still have an independent Ling Li building. Just like Jiguang sect and Tianqing Valley. What kind of sect is Tianqing Valley? It's Tianyake Attic. Jiang Run, standing outside the door, lowered his head and couldn't bear to listen anymore. Master was so miserable. He was simply led by the nose by the adults of Jouzhou region, and he couldn't see his own opinions. It turns out that the founder of our Linli building is evil Emperor Lingli. Don't believe all the rumors. Senior Lingli turns out to be an infatuated man. Jiang Run's eyes flashed with deep surprise. It was a pity that he didn't see Lingli in person in the talent contest that day. In a blink of an eye, an hour passed. During this period, Fang Yuan came once. Under Jiang Run's strange gaze, he eavesdropped for a moment and left with a smile. Jiang Run was full of doubts. Why didn't Lord Fang Yuan push the door and go in? At least, he could help Master control the situation. After a while, Su Li pushed the door in high spirits, followed by Ling Mo who looked determined. It was clear that he was completely brainwashed. Jiang Run couldn't help complaining in his heart, and a little expectation appeared on his face. Run, inform everyone to gather in the hall. I have something to announce. Ahem, Jiang Run coughed and thought that Lord Fang Yuan guessed right. Lord Fang Yuan and others have been waiting in the hall for a long time. Ling Mo was slightly stunned, but Jiang Run secretly transmitted the sound, it's Lord Fang Yuan. He just came. Ling Mo's face darkened. Don't worry. I think Fang Yuan has already guessed it, but he didn't tell you. Su Li patted him on the shoulder and walked away. Ling Mo sighed, and then followed her. Child, I'm sorry, the conversation in the hall didn't last long. Jiang Run stood outside and only heard the laughter in the hall, which was full of very happy atmosphere. The only one who was not happy might be his master. But it didn't matter. Jiang Run was extremely excited when he thought that the Linli building could openly declare war on the Fate Palace. Finally, he didn't have to hide like a rat on the street. On the second day, the Linli building, the first force in the Ju city of Yinyang region, was suddenly empty. The leaders of the Death Soul House and the Liang Villa were all at a loss. On the third day, Ling Mo and others settled in the new hill that Hua Yan had prepared early. Ling Qinglan and Ling Mo looked at each other silently. There were thousands of thoughts in their hearts, and they didn't know how to express them. Of course, the most complicated one was Su Buwang. He just ran away from home for a few days. Why did he move his whole family to the Ni sect? Su Buwang was at a loss for a moment. Suddenly, he felt a fatal sight, and then a smiling figure quickly enlarged in front of him. Hey, Uncle Fang, listen to me. Seeing this scene, Su Li smiled slightly and turned to leave. Her time was very tight, and she couldn't relax for a moment. She had to unite all the forces that could be gathered before the Fate Ancestor took action. For this reason, she even practiced the third hurdle of Sueyu tactics on the way. Just as she was about to disappear in the gate of the Ni sect, a figure suddenly flashed behind her and caught up with her. Su Jouzhou, take care. Su Li turned around and saw that it was Fang Yuan who flew to her. Fang Yuan stared at Su Li with a strange look in his eyes, and said in a deep voice, I want to talk to you alone. Chapter 607. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. On the top of Mount Forgetfulness, the wind whistled. Su Li tucked her hair fluttering in the wind behind her ears. Her eyes were calm. Fellow practitioner Fang, what do you want to say? Fang Yuan stood behind Su Li and stared at her back. He clenched his fists because of his uneasiness. Are you, the descendant of Ghost Clan who appeared briefly? The mysterious woman who killed the Grand Elder of Han Sect? Su Li turned around and her eyes fell on Fang Yuan's slightly nervous face. Why do you say so? I always have a sense of déjà vu for you, but I can't remember where I have seen you. until, Fang Yuan's eyes showed firmness, until I saw the light-splitting stone in the Tianjiao tournament. I have watched the images about you hundreds of times. I can't be wrong. You are the descendant of Ghost Clan. So what? Su Li slowly approached Fang Yuan's face. I am the descendant of Ghost Clan. Will it make you uncomfortable? No, Fang Yuan blushed and couldn't help but turn his head. I'm not uncomfortable. However, he couldn't help but think of the scene when he madly chased after Su Jiuzhou but didn't see her. At that time, he had a strong feeling that he was about to see Su Li. Was it wrong? If there is nothing else, I'm leaving. Su Li looked at the silent man in front of her and frowned. Her figure flickered and disappeared. Fang Yuan reached out and wanted to stop her, but he couldn't muster up the courage to ask that question. Are you her? Are you her? That. Su Jiuzhou, the Grand Elder of Ni sect. In the night, the tavern was still lit with warm yellow light in the ice and snow. The lively discussion seemed to be transmitted through the light, giving the last bit of warmth to casual practitioners who came and went to the snow region. Suddenly, a cry of surprise sounded in the tavern, attracting the attention of all practitioners. Next to a wine table, a shifty-eyed cultivator was staring at a black-robed female cultivator with an exquisite appearance with a look of shock. Although the black-robed female cultivator's aura was very weak, she let out a cold snort after hearing this. She didn't deny it nor did she admit it. When the cultivators saw the black lotus at the corner of the black-robed female cultivator's eyes, their expressions all changed. Some were in awe, some were in doubt, and some were in admiration. Only the veiled female cultivator sitting at a table in the corner was still drinking by herself, as if she didn't see this scene in the tavern. Senior, I want to join Ni sect. The shifty-eyed practitioner suddenly knelt down and said loudly, I was persecuted by the Fate Palace in my early years. I only hope to enter the Ni sect and take revenge on the Fate Palace. The female practitioner in black lowered her eyes and shook the wine glass in her hand. She didn't even look at the rat-eyed practitioner, and said in a calm tone, if you want to join the sect, go to Jiuzhou region. Why do you come to me? The black-clothed female cultivator didn't mention her identity, but there were hints in her words. The place was silent as many cultivators quietly gathered. The black-robed female cultivator felt a bit flustered, but her expression did not waver in the slightest. It was as if she didn't care about what was happening around her. Senior, I have been to Jiuzhou region, but because I am too old, I don't meet the standard of Ni sect for accepting disciples. The rat-eyed practitioner looked regretful and shook his head again and again. Suddenly, he gritted his teeth and took out a sparkling Kylan jade pendant from the universe ring. He risked everything and said, Senior, I got this thing from an ancient relic, but it has always been of little value. This thing should belong to you. I hope you can give me a chance to join Ni sect. The black-clothed female cultivator didn't care about it at first, but when she saw the Kylan pendant, her face changed a little. She reached out and the Kylan immediately flew into her palm, and the treasure light was shining brightly. There was a faint exclamation in the tavern. The black-clothed female cultivator showed a smile, you are very good. I can give you a chance. As soon as this remark came out, there was a lot of discussion in the tavern. This treasure light is clear, and it is at least an upper-grade magic treasure. The practitioner is really willing to give up just for a chance to join the sect. What do you know? Ni sect can fight against 50 holy sects alone, and it is backed by Qimo Circle. Now the era of Qingshui Circle has changed. Ni sect and Life Palace are equal, and it is the best place for many casual practitioners who hate Life Palace. I also have some treasures that I can't see through. I don't know if they can get the favor of Grand Elder Su. Many people's eyes flickered, and they were tempted. The harsh environment of the sacred snow domain was not suitable for lone cultivators to live in. They cultivated here because the sacred snow domain was not part of the Life Palace's faction. If cultivators from the Life Palace's faction came to hunt them down, the sacred snow domain would use the excuse of trespassing as a reason to stop a considerable number of enemies to reduce the pressure on the sacred snow domain. Of course, there were still quite a number of cultivators who were skeptical of this scene. But at this moment, the black-clothed female cultivator took out a jade rune and fell into the hands of the rat-eyed practitioner. The mark of Ni sect on it, which was enough to fool people, was shining. I have something to do in Holy Snow region, and it's not suitable for you to follow me. Put this thing away. When you arrive at Ni sect, someone will arrange it for you. Go. The black-clothed female cultivator said in a flat tone and took back her sleeves. The rat-eyed practitioner's eyes were full of tears, and he was grateful and excited. He rushed out of the tavern without saying a word, regardless of the cold outside, and disappeared into the vast night. After the rat-eyed practitioner left, the tavern fell into a strange atmosphere again. I heard from my friend in Jojo region that Grand Elder Su did leave a few days ago. Someone saw her disappear in the air, but I don't know where she went. In the talent contest, the first holy son of Holy Snow sect expressed goodwill to Grand Elder Su. Is it related to this matter? There were many well-informed practitioners among them. Such private discussions made the identity of the black-clothed female cultivator more real. At this moment, the black-clothed female cultivator suddenly stood up, and it seemed that she was going to leave. Suddenly, a middle-aged practitioner with a resolute face couldn't sit still, and he flashed in front of the black-clothed female cultivator. "Senior, please wait. I also want to enter Ni sect. Can I have a word with you?" The black-clothed female cultivator looked up and down at the middle-aged practitioner, and waved her hand to set up a soundproof bounded domain. The bounded domain was obviously fragile, but even if the practitioners present were curious about what they would talk about, no one dared to break it. "I also want to go to Ni sect." At a table in the corner, a pair of brother and sister dressed in shabby clothes sat behind Su Li, who was covered with a veil. The younger sister sighed in a low voice, and said aggrievedly, "Brother, can't we go to Jojo region? If not, Holy Snow sect is also good." "I don't want to go to Charm sect." The teenager with a childish face pinched the younger sister's little hand, and comforted her softly. "Xiao Nan, we don't have any travel expenses. Holy Snow sect is still some distance away, and we can't go there." "Oh," the younger sister nodded obediently, and there was a little reluctance in her eyes, but they seemed to have no choice. The teenager covered his chest, and a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, with a loud bang, a big hole was smashed in the wall of the tavern door, and the cold wind instantly washed away the warmth of the tavern. Two bloody figures, one fat and one thin, slowly appeared in the wind and snow, exuding evil energy. "Tut tut tut tut, two little bastards, can actually escape here." The short and thin bloody figure's gloomy eyes fell on the frightened brother and sister. "Who dares to make trouble in my Yuhan tavern?" The tavern owner was shocked and angry at the same time. Without saying a word, he made a gesture with both hands, and a giant hammer appeared in the nothingness and smashed down. The tall and fat bloody figure was silent. Suddenly, he sneered and stretched out his right arm to resist the hammer. Bang! The female practitioner in black's expression changed instantly, and she opened a hexagonal barrier without saying a word. Whoosh! The moment the vibration touched the barrier, it was blasted into pieces in the blink of an eye, but the invisible vibration was imprinted on her chest without any hindrance. Puff! To everyone's astonishment, the female practitioner in black raised her head and spat out a mouthful of blood. She flew upside down into the corner, smashing two tables in the corner, and spilling wine and dishes on the ground. Cough, cough, cough. The female practitioner in black kept coughing up blood, trying to get up from the pile of wine and dishes. But she couldn't get up after several efforts. Hearing the footsteps behind her approaching slowly, she was anxious and aggravated the injury on her chest, but she couldn't get up. "Do you need help?" A black veil quietly fell in front of her. The female practitioner in black looked up in a trance, and suddenly fell into a sluggish state. How could she meet appear? Chapter 608. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. You can search for the latest chapter. In the same field. The female practitioner in black stared at Suli blankly. She didn't know why she blurted out the word, in the same field. Suli raised her eyebrows and smiled, yes, I am in the same field as you. The female practitioner in black seemed to forget that she was in danger and became excited. Did you draw the black lotus at the corner of your eyes by yourself? It looks like a real one. I don't look like it. Can you draw one for me? Suli showed some interest in her eyes and nodded, okay. Boom. Two huge shadows blocked the light behind them. The black shadow female practitioner trembled, and her voice was trembling. She held Suli's arm and said, Big sister, since you can draw lotus so well, can you imitate Grand Elder Su and help me get rid of the two people behind me? Suli still smiled and nodded, okay. The female practitioner in black was stunned for a moment and then her face fell. Could the sister only say, okay? Why didn't he move? Brother, will we die? The younger sister hid in the arms of the teenager and shivered. She looked at the approaching two bloody shadows in horror and her little face was full of tears. Give the thing to the big sister in black. Isn't she Grand Elder Su? Can she save us? The teenager hid under the table with the younger sister in his arms and held her tightly. His throat was dry. That is a fake Grand Elder Su. She can't help us even if I give the thing to her. Wow. I don't care. Brother, give it to her. We can live if we don't want it. The younger sister wailed, and her childish cry made the casual practitioners feel distressed. But none of them dared to help. Some people even slipped away quietly while the attention of the twin bloody shadows was attracted. Ha ha ha, cry. What a beautiful voice. If we listen to it for a while, we will kill you. Maybe our killing skills can be improved to a higher level. Two imposters, ha ha ha, the short and thin bloody shadows and the tall and fat bloody shadows laughed at the same time, like ghosts crying and wolves howling. The black-robed female cultivator sighed and looked apologetically at the pair of young brother and sister. If she was really as powerful as Grand Elder Su, how good it would be. Hey, where are you going? The female practitioner in black suddenly saw Suli turn around and squat down in front of the brother and sister. Seeing the spotless black skirt, she was envious. This dress, it's too similar to the real one. The teenager looked at Suli with vigilance and tightened his arms holding his sister. Don't be nervous. Suli's tone was flat, but somehow, the teenager really felt that he was not so nervous. Little fellow, what is your wish? Suli wiped the tears off the little girl's face and said softly, Tell me, and I will help you realize it. The little lass's pupils were as pure as the clear blue sky, just like her ignorant self in the past. The little girl choked with sobs and her eyes lit up. I want to live. Live freely with Big Brother. Live, that's all. Xiao Nan is so sensible. Suli smiled, then do you know what your wish needs? Strength. The little girl clutched her brother's chest tightly and said in a childish but firm tone, strength that is strong enough to defeat everything. The black-robed female cultivator was a very insensitive person. She immediately burst into laughter. It's strength. Little fool. The little lass was immediately angered by his words. She snorted and said, I'm not a fool. Brother, I am not. The teenager was young but smart. He kept staring at Suli's face, and his eyes became brighter and brighter. The tense and cruel atmosphere was completely resolved by Suli's few words. Why don't you cry? Seeing Suli and others on the ground talking and laughing, the short and thin shadow was angry. His face was ferocious, and he slapped. If you don't cry, go to hell. Noisy. Suli said lightly. She turned her head and looked at the twin blood shadows, who were shocked and angry. She suddenly smiled and said, Little girl, do you want to see fireworks? Huh? The little girl tilted her head and wondered. Just like this. Suli smiled and made a gesture of fireworks. The short and thin blood shadow finally felt that something was wrong. The second imposter was too calm. Then, he soon knew what was wrong, but it was too late. Bang! Bang! 2 clouds of blood mist exploded, and they really bloomed in the sky like fireworks. All practitioners stared at the sky blankly. No one had expected that the ugly twin blood shadows would actually be able to produce such poignant yet beautiful blood-colored fireworks. Wow! It was the voice of the little girl Nan. Wow! It was the voice of the female practitioner in black. Maybe because her mouth was too big, the skin of her face was pulled, and a black lotus fell from the corner of her eyes. It turned out to be a lotus cut out of a piece of black paper. The teenager looked up at the bloody fireworks, and the sense of crisis in his heart disappeared. Instead, he felt hot. It seemed that he met the real person. Was there such a thing as a dream come true in this world? Big sister, you are so awesome. The female practitioner in black didn't realize anything. She got up and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She smiled very happily. You are so good at pretending. Even your strength is so close, big sister. You are my second idol. Suli turned around and looked at her strangely. Who is your first idol? Of course it is Su Jojo. The female practitioner in black took it for granted. Otherwise, why would I bother to pretend to be her? There seemed to be something wrong with this girl's brain circuit. This thought flashed through Su Li's mind. She handed a bag of celestial stones and 2 elixirs to her. He'll hear and deal with the matter of the tavern by the way. I will take the 2 little guys out for a while. Ow! When the female practitioner in black saw the celestial stones, her eyes suddenly lit up. She took them and turned to the kitchen to find the shopkeeper. Su Li came out with the 2 siblings and waved her hand to set up a barrier to cover the whole tavern. Senior, what are you doing? The teenager couldn't help but ask with envy in his eyes. He also wanted to have such strength. In that case, he and his sister wouldn't have to suffer. The fewer people know about me, the better. Su Li replied with a smile. The teenager suddenly thought a little too much. His face turned pale, and then he received a knock on the head. You little brat, what are you thinking about? Su Li waved her hand to open a whirlpool. Go in. The teenager took his sister's hand and hesitated for a moment. He gritted his teeth and asked, Are you really Grand Elder Su? Su Li nodded gently. The teenager grasped the thing in his chest and was about to take it out with determination in his eyes. This thing belongs to my family. I don't covet the treasure of you little brats. Since it belongs to my family, I will keep it with me as a memento. Su Li pressed the teenager's hand to her chest and said in a rare gentle tone, Go in. I have something important to do. I will let you out when I return to the sect in 2 days. The teenager was stunned and smiled foolishly. Are you really Grand Elder Su? Sister, let's go to Ni sect. Oh, okay. Xiao Nan was confused. When she heard the latter sentence, she also laughed and jumped into the whirlpool with the teenager. Su Li put away the whirlpool and her eyes flickered. You are so young, but you are so thoughtful. Besides, you are born with the poisonous insect's spiritual body. I don't know what Ling Qinglan will think when he sees you. A moment later, when Su Li returned to the tavern, it was brand new. All the broken tables and bloodstains were cleaned up. The power of the celestial stone. The female practitioner in black sat next to the shopkeeper and looked at the celestial stone in her hand with an intoxicated look. The shopkeeper was still in meditation to digest the healing elixir. I asked you to pay the celestial stone to the shopkeeper, but you used it to order casual practitioners to work? Su Li walked over with a strange heart. Now she was finally sure that the girl was not pretending to be stupid, but really stupid. Ah. The female practitioner in black was slightly stunned and immediately smiled. She put the bag of celestial stone on the shopkeeper's knee. Fortunately, I only used 50. There are still 50 in it. Then she jumped up and patted Su Li on the shoulder. Big sister, you are too generous. 1 celestial stone can definitely buy 10 rooms in this tavern. You directly gave him 100 celestial stones. Aren't you afraid that he will be robbed? Suli smiled faintly, the other half is yours. The female practitioner in black was stunned again. But I don't have it now. Suli shrugged and pretended to be helpless. The female practitioner in black almost cried out. My celestial stone. A moment later, the female practitioner in black and Suli left the tavern under the cover of night. Big sister, I tell you, I am familiar with the holy snow region. Tell me where you want to go, and I will definitely arrange it for you. Now I will take you to meet my companions. When the two disappeared in the wind and snow, the shopkeeper, who stood at the door of the tavern to see off the guests, suddenly woke up with a blank look. What happened just now? Well, why are the tables and chairs new? Big sister, you fly so fast. What's your cultivation level? The female practitioner in black tightly grasped the corner of Suli's clothes. She couldn't open her eyes because of the wind, but she still transmitted the sound stubbornly. My name is Gong Daden, and I am 603 years old this year. I am in the late stage of Yuanying realm. I inexplicably got an inheritance in my early years, so my physical body is a little more powerful than ordinary practitioners. But I just rely on this. Otherwise, those two ugly guys would have killed me. Gong Daden, can you stop for a while? Suli was helpless. She now regretted getting acquainted with this unusually muddle-headed little girl. Oh, I am too noisy. I won't keep quiet now. Gong Daden quickly covered his mouth with his hands, but he was horrified to find that he had thrown away Suli's clothes. Ah! The scream pierced the night sky, and a group of ice demons in the snow region were frightened to flee in panic. Suli held the fainted Gong Daden with one hand and sighed secretly. She wandered in the air. Wherever her spiritual awareness covered, it was all white. What should she do next? Well, I will wait for her to wake up. Suli was about to open the boundary, suddenly. Chapter 609. You can search, Poisonous Wife, in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Whoosh, whoosh, two icicles suddenly shot at her from the nothingness behind her. Suli tilted her head slightly and missed the attack. Let her go. An angry voice came. Suli turned around and saw the rat-eyed practitioner who had just left was looking at her fiercely. It turns out that you are in cahoots. Suli chuckled. Although she knew from the beginning that these two people were in cahoots, she still asked them like this. Why don't you let her go? The rat-eyed practitioner was nervous. He knew that the cultivation of the woman in front of him must be above his, but he still didn't leave. Why should I let her go? With a smile on her face, Suli intended to leave. The rat-eyed practitioner was anxious and said, She is the personal disciple of the Grand Elder Su. Otherwise, how dare she pretend to be Su? The rat-eyed practitioner saw a black lotus mark at the corner of the eyes of the woman in black in front of him, and her dress was exactly the same as that of Boss Gong. We are in cahoots. The rat-eyed practitioner suddenly blurted out. Suli was speechless for a while. Sure enough, they were companions. What's wrong with me? At this time, Gong Daden woke up slowly. When he saw the rat-eyed practitioner in front of him, he immediately looked happy. Xiaoho, you are here too. The rat-eyed practitioner was confused. Why didn't the boss look like being kidnapped? Big sister, put me down. It's so shameful to be carried by you all the time. I won't faint this time. Gong Daden smiled embarrassedly, and Suli helplessly let go. Hearing this, the rat-eyed practitioner finally understood. It's a misunderstanding. Big sister, our boss is carried by you. At first glance, he looks like being kidnapped. We are blind. Please forgive us. In the cave opened under the snow, the firewood was burning. Suli, Gong Daden and the rat-eyed practitioner sat around the fire. The rat-eyed practitioner cupped his hands and smiled apologetically. My surname is Ho, and my first name is Dan. Big sister, you can call me Xiao Ho. Gong Daden bumped Xiaoho's shoulder unhappily and snorted, "She is my big sister." "Why do you call her that?" Xiaoho and the others laughed foolishly. This was not the first time they had hung out with Gong Daden, and they had long been used to her crazy behavior. "But let me tell you, our new big sister is really amazing." Then, Gong Daden didn't dance with joy again. Su Li smiled but didn't say anything. She met such an interesting little girl by chance, and her tense mood seemed to relax a lot. "By the way, big sister, I still don't know your name." Gong Daden suddenly came over and asked eagerly. Su Li blinked and suddenly became interested. She smiled and said, "My name is Su Li." The entire cave fell into a state of stillness. Xiaoho widened his eyes. Su Li, wasn't she the legendary holy girl? "Ha ha ha ha, big sister, you actually have the same name as Holy Maiden Su." "Fortunately, I have seen Holy Maiden Su before. Otherwise, you would have been misunderstood." Gong Daden guffawed loudly, sweeping away the silent atmosphere. "What? Boss, you've actually seen Holy Maiden Su before?" Xiaoho was shocked. "Boss, aren't you less than 1,000 years old? The bloody calamity of the divine spirit happened more than 1,000 years ago. You weren't even born yet. How did you meet Holy Maiden Su?" Cough, cough, cough. Gong Daden coughed violently and slapped Xiaoho's forehead. "Did I allow you to speak? Don't care about these details. In short, I did enter the reincarnation mirror at that time, but unfortunately. But I remember the appearance of Holy Maiden Su very clearly. Although you are more beautiful than me, you are still not as beautiful as Holy Maiden Su." Su Li smiled, "The name is just a code name. Don't worry too much about it." "Gong Daden, I have always wanted to ask you, why do you use the name of Su Jojo to cheat and cheat? Aren't you afraid of shaming your idol? What's wrong with that?" Gong Daden rolled his eyes. "I'm not really lying. The referral jade talismans I gave are all real. I'm just asking them to spend some effort to buy an opportunity from me. As for whether they can get in or not, it still depends on their own abilities." "Really?" Su Li was surprised. She vaguely remembered that she had made some recommendation jade tokens, but they were all given to Ban Qian, Lu Xian and other holy sons. Why did Gong Daden have them? "Big sister, can you teach me your skill of drawing lotus?" Gong Daden was still obsessed with the lotus at the corner of Su Li's eyes. He came over and gently pointed with his fingertips. "I tell you, I really know the way of Holy Snow Sect. We will set off at dawn. Big sister, do me a favor and teach me." Su Li couldn't help laughing. When she was about to speak, her eyes suddenly lit up, and Gong Daden couldn't help crying. "What's the matter?" Gong Daden rubbed his eyes and looked up again. He saw Su Li was looking at him with a smile, as if everything that happened just now was an illusion. "Was it an illusion? I'll teach you how to draw lotus," Su Li said. Gong Daden immediately shifted his attention, took out a pen and paper from the universe ring, and listened attentively. While Su Li sketched on the paper, her mind sank into the black lotus ring. "Samsara, your ability to perceive the mysteries of heaven should have recovered a lot, so that you can sense the feeling of being watched." The little Samsara beast was holding a broken mirror and gnawing it with relish. When it suddenly heard its master's voice, it shivered with fear and said, "Master, I was sleeping and digesting the mirror just now. Suddenly, I smelled a very tempting fragrance. I opened my mouth subconsciously and bit it. I actually got a mirror in my mouth." That's it. Su Li subconsciously picked up the quaint mirror lying in the arms of the Samsara beast. The style was somewhat similar to the reincarnation mirror, but its pneuma was completely different. She had never seen it before. "Hey, isn't this the fate-returning mirror? Why is it here?" Black Lotus walked over with a confused face and said subconsciously. "The fate-returning mirror?" Yes, the fate-returning mirror was originally from the same mother as the Samsara beast. But it didn't have intelligence, so it was not a treasure. It seemed to be taken by the Tianqing Valley. Suli looked at the half-mirror in her hand when she heard the words. Suddenly, she stained her eyes. There was a trace of blood on the mirror with a unique golden red luster. Her long and narrow eyes narrowed as if she was deep in thought. At the same time, in the fate-returning hall of the Tianqing Valley, Bai Xiu was petrified when he saw there was only a mirror frame left in the center of the hall. How could this be? Let's go back to a quarter ago. Lingli followed Bai Xiu to a tall palace. This is the fate-returning hall. The fate-returning mirror is kept here alone. Lingli nodded and asked, why haven't I heard of this treasure before the bloody accident of Holy Spirit? Bai Xiu sighed. The appearance of this treasure is indeed related to the bloody accident of Holy Spirit. To be exact, it is related to the reincarnation mirror. The reincarnation mirror? Ling Li's pupils shrank slightly. What do you mean? The fate-returning mirror and the reincarnation mirror were born from the same mirror embryo. But the reincarnation mirror was lucky to have intelligence, while the fate-returning mirror didn't. If the fate-returning mirror is activated, it will be swallowed by the spirit of the reincarnation mirror. So it has been sealed in the Tianqing Valley. Ling Li understood when he heard this. 1,000 years ago, the reincarnation mirror was broken, and the treasure was destroyed. Naturally, the fate-returning mirror was not in danger of being swallowed and could be used. Come on, drop a drop of blood on the mirror, and then think of the person you want to see in your heart. After Bai Xiu finished speaking, he stood aside calmly and closed his eyes to rest, but his divine awareness was highly tense. Ling Li stood in front of the mirror and looked at his reflection in the mirror. He took a deep breath, reached out and cut his fingertip, squeezed out a drop of golden and red blood, and stained it on the mirror. Seeing this drop of blood, Bai Xiu breathed a long sigh of relief in his heart and completely relaxed. In fact, the fate-returning mirror didn't need to drop blood. How could he believe Ling Li's words? Fortunately, this test proved that Ling Li didn't lie. Only the direct descendants of the great emperor would have golden blood. Ling Li had just awakened, and his blood had not been completely transformed, so it was normal for him to have golden and red blood. Ling Li naturally didn't know that there were so many twists and turns in Bai Xiu's heart. He gently closed his eyes and completely immersed himself in his memories. Li, when did he fall into her trap? Was it the entanglement of the previous life fabricated by the reincarnation mirror, or was it the attraction when they first met in the bustling street in the dimly lit place? Or was it the intoxication when they kissed at the bottom of the river under the cold infiltration? Or was it the heart-wrenching pain after they broke up? After that, it was as if there was an invisible thread that connected them together. In that false world, he just unreasonably tied her to his side, but he didn't know that every step he took was paved with her blood and tears. He ignorantly enjoyed everything until the dream was broken. After coming out, he was still the evil emperor, but only he knew that he didn't forget for a moment. Li. Buzz. The plain and simple bronze mirror suddenly shone brightly, and the white light filled the mirror, illuminating Ling Li's face. Bai Xiu shuddered and suddenly appeared beside Ling Li. He said, "Is there really a reaction? Su Li really had reincarnation?" Ling Li held his breath and stared at the mirror, for fear that the slightest noise would affect the manifestation of the reincarnation mirror. Gradually, the white light faded from the bottom to the top, and a corner of the black skirt appeared in their eyes. Who is it? Ling Li's eyes were red, and he couldn't wait for the white light to move faster. For the first time in 1,000 years, he felt a glimmer of hope in the darkness. If Su Li really had reincarnation, her past life was too broken. I'm afraid that she was not reincarnated as a mortal in this life, and even reincarnated several times. Or, is she a female practitioner in her early 1,000 years? Bai Xiu squinted at the mirror, waiting for the whole mirror to appear. However, before the white light retreated to the waist of the black skirt, it suddenly stopped. Huh? Bai Xiu was stunned, and then, crack. A clear crack appeared in the middle of the reincarnation mirror in his horrified eyes. Then, as if it was eaten by something, the whole mirror disappeared into the void. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.